6 boundaries men set that turn women on. Psychology facts. Old Stoic wisdom. The best love is the one that makes you a better man without changing you into someone other than yourself. Restraint. Here's a truth that many men never truly understand. Setting boundaries doesn't repel women. It actually attracts them. But we're not talking about weak, insecure boundaries driven by neediness or manipulation. Real boundaries come from a place of self-respect, clear purpose, and grounded masculinity. In this video, I'm going to break down 6 specific boundaries that ignite attraction on a deep psychological level. These aren't about playing power games or trying to control others. Instead, they're about communicating your values clearly and standing firm in who you are. When you hold these boundaries with confidence, the right kind of woman won't walk away. She'll lean in, feeling safe and drawn to your strength. The difference is subtle but powerful. Boundaries show you're a man who knows himself, who respects his time and energy, and who won't settle for less than what he deserves. And that kind of clarity is incredibly magnetic. Stick with me until we get to boundary number 6. It's the one that not only protects your inner power, but also shifts how she sees you, and even how she sees herself when she's with you. It's transformative in a way most men overlook, but it can completely change the dynamic between you two. So, if you're ready to step into a stronger, more attractive version of yourself, let's get started. 1. The no apology rule. The no apology rule is among the most powerful boundaries a man can establish, yet its psychological depth often goes unrecognized. This principle goes far beyond simply refusing a request. It's about the way that refusal is communicated. The true impact doesn't come from how often you say yes or no, but from the unwavering confidence, tone, and body language you bring to your no. When a man says no politely but firmly, without drowning his refusal in over-explanations or unnecessarily softening it with apologies, he sends an unmistakable and magnetic message. I trust myself and my decisions. In today's world, where many feel the relentless pressure to please others at every turn, often sacrificing their own needs and boundaries, this kind of self-assurance stands out as rare and precious. Stoic wisdom reminds us that rarity is power, and the scarcity of genuine self-trust combined with unshakable boundaries makes a man irresistibly attractive and respected. Picture a man who calmly states, "No, I won't be able to make it," with quiet conviction, without fidgeting, without softening his stance, and without seeking approval. In doing so, he signals clearly that his time, energy, and priorities are valuable and deliberately protected. This approach is not about coldness or dismissiveness. Rather, it's a clear statement of self-worth, communicated without hesitation or guilt. Conversely, a man who constantly says yes, trying to be liked and accepted by everyone, often comes across as needy or insecure because he's not honoring his own limits or living authentically. The urgency to master this art of saying no confidently grows even more critical in our fast-paced, distraction-filled modern life, where boundaries are easily blurred and personal energy is quickly drained. Saying no without apology empowers you to carve out space for your true priorities, preserve your mental and emotional well-being, and foster respect that is both genuine and lasting in your relationships. When you stop apologizing for your boundaries, you embody a rare form of strength that resonates deeply on a subconscious level. Just as the Stoics taught, standing firm with grace and without needless justification elevates your presence and influence. The next time you feel tempted to soften a refusal with an apology, remember that the power lies in delivering your no with calm, steady assurance. This subtle but profound shift not only protects your time and values, but also quietly commands respect and attraction, allowing you to stand out effortlessly amid a sea of people desperate to please. Reflect on how many opportunities or relationships might improve simply by mastering this boundary. What would happen if you embraced this no apology rule and made it a daily habit? Share your experiences or challenges with saying no in the comments below, and let's build a conversation about how this simple yet powerful boundary can transform your life and relationships for the better. 2. The unavailable advantage. The power of being unavailable is one of the most overlooked yet profoundly magnetic boundaries a man can set, and it holds a unique allure that many women find irresistibly attractive. When you consciously guard your time, choosing not to respond immediately to every text, not dropping everything the moment she calls, or rearranging your life at a moment's notice, it might initially feel like a dangerous game, as if you risk losing her interest. But the truth is quite the opposite. This deliberate unavailability signals that your time is valuable, that you are a man with purpose, direction, and priorities beyond simply catering to someone else's schedule. It tells her you have a life worth stepping into, a world rich with meaning and substance. The ancient Stoics understood this implicitly. Seneca said, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." And here, power over your own time is a statement of inner strength and self-respect. By not being constantly available, you create a subtle tension and mystery that is incredibly magnetic, because constant availability often screams the opposite, that there is nothing else going on in your life. Scarcity creates value, and suddenly you become a rare commodity in a sea of endless availability. In practical everyday life, this boundary translates into holding firm to your commitments, your work, your hobbies, and your personal growth without guilt or apology. It's about knowing your worth and not allowing your time to be devalued by being endlessly accessible. When a man understands this, he isn't playing mind games or acting indifferent out of manipulation. He is simply living authentically and inviting others to appreciate him for who he truly is, not just as an option at their disposal. This sets a tone of respect and admiration in the relationship, because you show that your attention is earned, not given away carelessly. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic, advised, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears," which can be applied here as well. Reject the urge to be immediately available, and you will find that the relationship dynamic shifts to one of deeper respect and attraction. The emotional depth that arises from this boundary is profound. When you are unavailable, you create an emotional pull rooted in mystery and desire. She begins to wonder about your life beyond the screen, about your passions and pursuits that don't revolve solely around her. This curiosity fosters a stronger emotional connection, making interactions richer and more meaningful. In contrast, when a man is always at someone's beck and call, it often leads to complacency and a loss of intrigue. Real attraction thrives in the balance of presence and absence, availability and independence. This is not about playing hard to get, but about living your truth as a man who commands his time and energy. The old saying, "Absence makes the heart grow fonder," carries timeless wisdom here. Distance and unavailability create space for desire to grow rather than wither. Moreover, this boundary is a practical form of self-care and respect that benefits both men and the women they connect with. It ensures that you are not losing yourself in the pursuit of pleasing others, and that your identity remains intact and strong. This kind of strength is deeply attractive because it reflects maturity and emotional intelligence, qualities that foster healthy and lasting relationships. It also sets a precedent for mutual respect and boundaries that both partners can appreciate and thrive within. If you're constantly available, your partner may unconsciously devalue your presence, because scarcity is a key component of appreciation. Incorporating this principle into your life can transform how you relate to women and yourself. By protecting your time, you create a life that is rich, purposeful, and magnetic. You send a clear message that you are a man of substance, one who values his time and energy and invites others to value it as well. I invite you to reflect on your own experiences. How has setting boundaries around your time affected your relationships? Have you noticed a change in how others perceive and treat you when you are less immediately available? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Your insights could inspire others to embrace the power of unavailability and elevate their own connections. Remember, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, guard well your spare moments. They are like uncut diamonds. Your time is your most valuable asset. Own it, protect it, and watch how it transforms your relationships and your life. 3. The respect reflex. Listen closely, because this message is for the man who refuses to settle for less than total command over his life and relationships. The respect reflex is your ultimate weapon in the battlefield of attraction and power, a weapon so subtle yet so devastatingly effective that most men never learn to wield it properly. Disrespect is not loud. It's not a screaming, obvious insult. It's the quiet dismissal, the eye roll barely hidden, the sarcastic dig masked as a joke, the subtle, dismissive comment dropped in front of others like a poison dart you barely see coming. Many men think ignoring these small slights shows they are cool or above it all, but in reality, letting these slides erode your status beneath your feet. It lowers your value in her eyes, even if she doesn't consciously understand why. You become less of a man, less of a leader in that moment, and the dangerous truth is she senses it on a primal level. The ancient Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, knew the power of calm, unyielding boundaries. They taught that self-respect and self-control are the foundation of all strength. So, you don't respond with anger, shouting, or theatrics. You respond with calm, unshakable authority. You call out the small disrespect quietly but clearly, setting a line in the sand. This act alone is revolutionary. It says, I respect myself too much to tolerate this, and by extension, demands she respect you the same way. This is strength distilled, quiet, powerful, and undeniable. When you hold this standard, something incredible happens. She feels safer around you, not because you are soft or submissive, but because your calm command creates a stable ground where she can let down her guard and be vulnerable. This security ignites attraction on a deep, instinctual level. Paradoxically, by standing firm, you invite her to lean into her own femininity, her softness, her natural grace. This is not weakness, this is magnetism. It's the dynamic that has existed since the dawn of human connection. Strong man, safe space, feminine flow. You become the anchor, the rock in her storm. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your refusal to accept subtle disrespect turns obstacles into your pathway to dominance and deeper attraction. These micro moments, the barely there slights and dismissals, reveal everything about the true power dynamics between you two. They are the small cracks where control can be lost or won. Recognize them. Own them. Respond to them with calm authority, not hesitation or aggression. This is your path to mastery, not just in relationships, but in life. When you command respect, you command the world around you. Don't wait for disrespect to grow into a wildfire. Snuff it out at the spark with quiet confidence. This is how you elevate yourself beyond the mediocre men who tolerate anything and everything. You set the standard, you enforce the standard, you live by the standard. And in doing so, you build a presence so powerful that she can't help but be drawn to it. So if you've ever caught yourself noticing those little micro moments, those subtle dismissals and snide comments, drop the word noticed in the comments right now. Let's start a movement of men who refuse to be disrespected and who demand the admiration they deserve. Like if you're ready to reclaim your power, subscribe for more wisdom that sharpens your edge and transforms your relationships. Comment below. I command respect, because that's the truth every man must own to win at life and love. The time is now. Stand firm. Speak up. Own your respect. Become the man she can't resist. 4. The calm test. The calm test stands as a crucial boundary that many men overlook, yet it holds incredible power to attract and deepen connection with women. When she throws a playful tease, a hint of sarcasm, or a mild provocation, it's not just about the words she's using, it's a test of your emotional leadership. Most men react instinctively. They get defensive, snap back, or shut down, not realizing that this very moment is where many lose their footing. Instead, the man who truly stands out leads rather than reacts. He remains composed, calm, and steady, responding not from impulse, but from a place of inner strength and centeredness. This calm is not about being cold or detached. It's about mastering your emotions, and staying grounded in the face of unpredictability. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius famously taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His wisdom reminds us that emotional control is the highest form of power because it's within our control, unlike the actions or moods of others. When a woman senses that she cannot rattle you, she feels safe and respected. The dynamic shifts from confrontation to curiosity. She starts to wonder about the unshakable parts of your character, what other challenges you face with the same steady confidence. This subtle power attracts on a primal level because it signals emotional maturity, reliability, and true leadership. In everyday life, this means practicing patience when faced with criticism or teasing, breathing through moments of tension, and responding with a quiet confidence rather than impulsive defensiveness. The calm test isn't just a fleeting interaction, it's a demonstration of a man's overall approach to life and relationships. When you maintain your center, you also inspire calm and trust in those around you. It's the difference between a relationship that feels like a roller coaster and one that feels like a safe harbor. Real wisdom from Seneca supports this. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. By mastering your response to provocations, you reduce unnecessary emotional suffering and elevate your presence. This boundary teaches that leadership begins within. The next time you encounter a moment designed to provoke, remember that your reaction shapes not just the interaction, but your entire relational landscape. Have you noticed how staying calm in challenging situations has changed how others perceive you or how you feel about yourself afterward? Share your experiences in the comments, and let's explore how mastering this boundary can transform your relationships and self-respect. Your insights might inspire others on the path to becoming the unshakable man women naturally gravitate toward. 5. The authority silenced. The true power of authority is deeply rooted in the art of silence and the ability to make decisions without hesitation or excessive justification. Many men fall into the habit of over-explaining themselves, thinking that laying out every detail or reason will clarify their position or win approval. In reality, this only dilutes their authority and reveals an unconscious need for validation. When you repeatedly find yourself elaborating why you made a choice, you are not asserting control, you're inviting doubt and signaling uncertainty, both to yourself and to others. Contrast this with the impact of a simple, clear statement, such as, "I won't be able to make it, but let's catch up later." There is no begging, no room for debate, just a firm boundary set with respect and confidence. This is not merely about communication style. It reflects a profound psychological principle tied to Old Stoic wisdom that emphasizes mastery over one's own mind and emotions rather than dependence on external approval. The Stoics believed that real strength comes from within, from being unshaken by the unpredictable opinions or reactions of others. In our modern fast-paced, hyper-connected world, this principle is more relevant than ever. People are inundated with information and constant demands on their attention, making clear, efficient communication not just preferable, but essential. A man who speaks with brevity and conviction is instantly seen as someone who knows his worth, manages his time well, and does not waste energy on unnecessary explanations. This efficiency is the hallmark of true confidence, one that doesn't need to convince others, but simply acts with purpose and clarity. Psychologically, this creates a magnetic boundary that is incredibly attractive. Women are drawn not just to words, but to the energy and presence behind them. When a man demonstrates that he is secure enough to set limits without apology, it triggers a deep sense of respect and intrigue. It signals emotional maturity, self-respect, and independence, all qualities that are profoundly alluring. In contrast, over-explaining and seeking permission can come across as insecure and needy, traits that naturally diminish attraction. This concept transcends simple social etiquette. It's about embodying a lifestyle philosophy where your decisions and boundaries are respected because they are firm and non-negotiable. It teaches men to lead themselves first, to honor their own time and energy, and to communicate with intent rather than hesitation. Embracing this mindset means letting your actions and presence do the talking, cultivating a quiet but unmistakable strength that commands attention effortlessly. In practical terms, this could mean declining invitations or requests without guilt or elaborate excuses, prioritizing your own goals and well-being, and trusting that those who respect you will appreciate your straightforwardness. This is not about being cold or dismissive, but about being clear and authentic. By doing so, you set a powerful precedent in your relationships and social interactions, creating a dynamic where your boundaries are honored and your confidence becomes a source of attraction. In essence, this is the embodiment of a modern Stoic man, someone who understands that the foundation of attraction and respect lies in self-control, clarity, and purposeful action. So the advice for men navigating today's complex social landscape is clear. Stop over-explaining, trust your decisions, and communicate with quiet authority. Let your presence, not your words, be the proof of your confidence. This approach doesn't just elevate your interactions, it transforms the way you live, making you more focused, respected, and ultimately more desirable. 6. The Mission First Code. The Mission First Code is the ultimate boundary that defines real masculine power and attraction, a line that every man who wants to captivate women must draw and never cross. This isn't about making a woman the center of your universe. It's about being the center of your own universe, a man who wakes up every morning with a clear purpose that demands his full attention, sacrifices, and fierce commitment. She doesn't want to be your whole life. She wants to join a journey that's already in motion, a mission that is bigger than either of you alone. When you live with this level of purpose, you radiate an irresistible energy. You become magnetic, not because you chase, but because you lead. You become the gravity pulling her into your orbit. This is the kind of man women can't stop thinking about, the kind of man who inspires loyalty, desire, and respect. Look around you. Society tells men to balance everything, to give equal time to work, family, and relationships, but this dilutes your power. The truth is brutal but freeing. When you prioritize your mission above all else, you are not selfish. You are dominant. You command your life. You decide your value. And women sense this power instinctively. The great Stoic Marcus Aurelius famously said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Be that man. Be the man who is unshakable in his goals and unbreakable in his drive. This is what creates longing and attraction. This is what flips the entire game. Here's the twist that most men miss. She does not want to complete you. She wants to belong to something greater than herself, something unstoppable that she can proudly say she is part of. She wants to witness your fire and feel the heat. She wants to orbit your mission, your purpose, not to be the fuel that starts or stops your flame. When you hold this boundary, mission first, you send a clear message. You are a man who leads, who sacrifices, who fights for what matters. This is magnetic. This is seductive. This is power. Women are wired to respect and desire a man who lives with relentless purpose, who doesn't flinch under pressure or lose focus on what truly matters. If you want to own your life, your love, your destiny, then own this boundary. In a world drowning in distractions and superficial connections, men with a mission shine like beacons. They don't beg for attention or approval. They command it. Their lives are a testament to strength, discipline, and vision. They are the men who inspire stories, who lead revolutions, who create legacies. And women don't just want to be part of their lives, they want to be part of their legends. As Theodore Roosevelt declared, "Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those timid spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much." Your mission is that mighty thing. Your mission is that triumph. Let me be clear. Keeping your mission first is not about ignoring women. It's about respecting yourself enough to refuse distraction and dilution of your power. This boundary defines your value and raises your status. It creates a magnetic field so strong that women willingly step into your orbit and stay there because they sense your authenticity, your strength, and your vision. Do not confuse attention-seeking for attraction. Attraction flows naturally from a man who knows his worth and lives for his purpose. This is the modern masculine code, rooted in ancient wisdom, but perfectly suited for today's chaotic world. Now, here's your call to action. Commit to your mission like your life depends on it, because it does. Refuse to be a man who drifts, who loses himself in fleeting distractions, or who makes a woman his whole world. Instead, be the man who builds a world worth belonging to. Be the man who lives with unstoppable drive and demands nothing less than greatness. Write in the comments, "My mission fuels my power," and take ownership of your destiny right now. Like, share, and subscribe if you're ready to rise above mediocrity and live a life of purpose, power, and undeniable attraction. This is your moment. Command it. Own it. Be the mission, not the distraction. 7. The emotional fortress. One of the most powerful and often overlooked boundaries that a man can establish is what I call the emotional fortress. This isn't about building walls of coldness or emotional detachment, but rather about cultivating a resilient inner sanctuary that protects your emotional well-being without shutting out genuine connection. Women, consciously or unconsciously, are deeply attracted to men who demonstrate this kind of emotional stability because it reveals a profound sense of strength, self-respect, and maturity, qualities that echo the timeless wisdom of the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What he meant is that your true strength lies not in controlling the chaos around you, but in mastering your own inner world. The emotional fortress is exactly this mastery manifested in everyday life. When you create an emotional fortress, you don't shut people out. You shield your core so that you can engage with the world from a place of calm and confidence, rather than from reactivity or vulnerability to every emotional storm. It is a clear boundary that says, "I will not let external turmoil dictate my inner peace." This boundary is magnetic because it signals that you respect yourself enough to maintain your equilibrium, and paradoxically, this encourages others to trust and open up to you. Women sense that a man who has built this fortress is someone they can rely on, not because he's perfect or emotionless, but because he navigates emotions with clarity, control, and integrity. In practical, real-life terms, the emotional fortress means not allowing stress, frustration, or negativity to overwhelm you or dictate your responses. When challenges arise, whether in work, family, or relationships, you don't react impulsively or fall prey to emotional outbursts. Instead, you pause, breathe, and choose your response deliberately. This isn't always easy, especially in a world that often rewards quick, reactive behavior, but it's this very restraint that sets you apart. As Seneca wisely stated, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Setting clear emotional boundaries provides the direction and stability needed to navigate life storms effectively. Moreover, this boundary means clearly communicating your limits about what emotional behaviors you will accept or tolerate. It's about saying no to drama, manipulation, or disrespect in a calm but firm manner. By doing so, you create a relationship environment built on mutual respect, reducing confusion and conflict. You give others permission to understand where you stand emotionally, and that honesty fosters deeper trust and connection. It's important to remember that the emotional fortress doesn't mean you never allow vulnerability. On the contrary, it means you share vulnerability selectively and wisely, creating a safe space where both you and your partner can be open without fear of chaos or judgment. In everyday life, building and maintaining your emotional fortress might look like limiting exposure to toxic conversations or draining people, choosing to walk away from conflicts that serve no growth, or developing daily habits such as meditation, journaling, or stoic reflection to center yourself. These practices strengthen your ability to hold steady, even when external events seem overwhelming. It also means prioritizing your own peace and well-being consistently, because, as the saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. When you protect your emotional energy, you become more capable of giving genuine love, support, and presence to those around you. This principle is especially critical for men between 35 and 70, a period often marked by complex life demands, shifting identities, and relationship dynamics. Setting this boundary can transform not only how you relate to others, but how you relate to yourself. It allows you to reclaim your time, your mental space, and your emotional health in a way that encourages growth rather than burnout. Women are instinctively drawn to this kind of grounded masculinity because it reflects a man who is centered, reliable, and emotionally intelligent, a modern embodiment of the Stoic ideal. So take a moment to ask yourself, where is your emotional fortress strong? And where might it have gaps? What patterns do you see in how you manage emotional stress or intimacy? And, importantly, how has setting or failing to set these boundaries affected your relationships? I invite you to share your experiences, insights, or challenges in the comments below. Your story might just be the inspiration another man needs to start building his own emotional sanctuary, a place where strength meets vulnerability and true connection is possible. Would you like me to expand on additional boundaries or integrate specific Stoic exercises to help build this emotional fortress further? 8. The boundary of selective availability. The boundary of selective availability is a subtle, yet profoundly impactful principle that men can embrace to significantly enhance their relationships and deepen attraction. Rooted in timeless Stoic wisdom, this boundary teaches that true strength lies not in being constantly accessible or overly accommodating, but in choosing deliberately when and how to engage with others, especially women. In a modern world dominated by instant communication, social media, and endless demands on our time, the temptation to be perpetually available is strong. Yet, this constant accessibility often diminishes a man's perceived value and presence, making him appear less intriguing and less in control of his life. The Stoics understood that a man's energy and time are finite resources that must be protected with discipline and intentionality. When a man practices selective availability, he signals to the world that his time is precious, that he has priorities, and that he operates by his own standards rather than being reactive to every external pull. This choice cultivates an aura of confidence and independence, qualities that naturally attract women on a deep psychological level. It's the same principle behind the allure of rare treasures or a flower that blooms only under specific conditions. Scarcity enhances desire. When a man is not always instantly reachable, he creates a natural tension and curiosity, encouraging a woman to value the moments they share far more intensely because they feel earned rather than expected. This doesn't mean a man should ignore or dismiss women, but rather that he should set clear boundaries around his availability, investing fully and authentically when he does engage. Such a rhythm fosters respect, signals emotional maturity, and nurtures a connection that feels rich and rewarding instead of taken for granted. By honoring this boundary, a man demonstrates self-respect first and foremost, which in turn teaches others to respect his time and presence. This dynamic is essential in today's fast-paced, distraction-heavy culture, where many relationships falter under the weight of constant shallow communication and unclear boundaries. Selective availability, then, is not just about being elusive, it's about being purposeful, showing up fully when it counts and preserving your energy and focus for what truly matters. This aligns perfectly with the old Stoic idea that a fulfilled life is one governed by reason and intentional action, not by external circumstances or the demands of others. For men seeking meaningful connections, embracing this boundary empowers them to reclaim their autonomy and craft relationships built on mutual respect, genuine attraction, and authenticity. It turns dating and relationships from a game of chasing and pleasing into a balanced dance of giving and receiving. In practice, this means setting clear times for communication, maintaining your personal interests and goals without compromise, and cultivating a strong inner life that is not dependent on constant external validation. Doing so not only makes a man more magnetic, but also more grounded, calm, and fulfilled. Ultimately, the boundary of selective availability is a form of quiet strength, a way of saying with confidence and grace, "I know my worth, and I will not be rushed or undervalued." This message resonates deeply in any connection and sets the stage for relationships that are not only passionate, but also enduring and respectful, embodying the best of both ancient wisdom and modern insight. Every boundary you set sends a powerful and unmistakable message. I know exactly who I am, and I'm not afraid to let go of anything or anyone that fails to respect that. This declaration isn't merely about drawing lines. It's about embodying a level of self-awareness and strength that few men truly achieve. Such unwavering masculine energy doesn't just attract, it captivates and leaves an indelible mark. It's the kind of presence that women find not only magnetic, but deeply reassuring, signaling a man who lives with integrity and unshakable confidence. This concept aligns closely with the timeless wisdom of the Stoics, who taught that our value comes from within, and that protecting our inner domain is paramount. As the French writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry wisely observed, love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction. In this light, boundaries aren't walls meant to isolate, but pillars that uphold your vision and your commitment to self-respect. They are the framework within which genuine connection can flourish. When a man stands firm in his boundaries, he doesn't just protect his energy, he models leadership by living authentically and with purpose. This clarity and conviction spark curiosity and respect in others, especially women, who intuitively recognize strength without arrogance and confidence without neediness. Which of these boundaries resonates most profoundly with your experience? How have setting clear limits impacted your relationships and sense of self? Drop a comment below to share your insights and stories. If this message speaks to you, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more straightforward, practical dating psychology rooted in both modern science and ancient wisdom. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about building walls, it's about defining the space where you can thrive, connect, and lead. So, until next time, keep setting the standard high, protect your frame with unwavering resolve, and own every moment with the kind of quiet confidence that turns heads and wins hearts. Praise a woman in these 8 ways, and she will immediately feel drawn to you, Old Stoic wisdom. The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. William James, welcome, gentlemen. If you're here, you're likely someone who doesn't just want fleeting attraction, you're seeking genuine connection. You want to understand how to make a woman feel truly seen, valued, and appreciated, not just for her appearance, but for who she is at her core. And here's the timeless truth. When a woman feels authentically admired and respected, she naturally becomes more open, trusting, and emotionally connected. That connection often translates into a deep, enduring attraction. But here's where most men miss the mark. They default to the usual compliments. You look amazing, or you're so sexy. Sure, those have their place, but they're surface level. They don't touch the heart. True praise, the kind that speaks to her soul, goes far beyond looks. It's about recognizing her spirit, her strength, her subtle qualities that others overlook. In this segment, we'll explore 8 powerful ways to praise a woman, approaches rooted in both timeless Stoic principles and modern psychological insight. When done right, these forms of praise will stir something deep within her. She'll feel not only admired, but understood, and that changes everything. Let's dive in. 1. Praise her intelligence. Let's begin with one of the most underrated but profoundly powerful ways to praise a woman, acknowledging her intelligence. Too often, men default to surface-level compliments like, "You're beautiful," or "You look amazing tonight." While these are appreciated, they rarely touch the deeper layers of a woman's identity. What truly distinguishes a man in a woman's eyes, especially one with maturity and depth, is the ability to see beyond the obvious, to recognize the brilliance of her mind, the nuance in her thoughts, and the unique lens through which she views the world. This is especially potent when dealing with women who value emotional depth and intellectual resonance, qualities many women between the ages of 30 and 70 tend to develop and cherish. When you say something like, "I love how your mind works," you always have such an original way of seeing things. It's like talking to you expands my own thinking. You're not just offering flattery, you're offering validation. And that's a rare gift. As the ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Listening closely to a woman's thoughts and reflecting them back with sincere admiration creates an emotional bridge that few other compliments can. It's a way of saying, "I see the world a little differently because of you." And that's far more intimate than any compliment about looks. Intelligence is often the gateway to a woman's heart, and when you appreciate her ideas and curiosity, you're nurturing a connection that extends beyond attraction and into the realm of respect and admiration. This is where lasting bonds are forged, where she begins to feel not just desired, but deeply understood. Real life advice here: don't just wait for the perfect moment or a deep conversation, train yourself to listen actively. When she shares her take on a book, an article, a social issue, or even an everyday situation, don't just nod. Respond with something meaningful that shows you're genuinely engaged. Think about it. In a world filled with distractions, showing true attention is both rare and powerful. Compliments tied to intelligence are timeless because they affirm something that doesn't fade with age or change with seasons. They honor the core of who she is. As Oscar Wilde wisely put it, to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. And when you highlight her intelligence, you encourage her to fall deeper in love with herself through your eyes. It's a mirror that reflects her truest worth. So next time you're talking to a woman, your wife, your partner, or someone you're just getting to know, look for that opportunity to say, "I've never thought about it that way before. You've opened up a new perspective for me." You'll be surprised at how such a statement can immediately shift the emotional energy between you. It's not manipulation, it's recognition. And recognition, especially when sincere, is magnetic. 2. Admire her passion. If there's one thing ancient Stoic wisdom teaches us, it's to observe deeply, to recognize the essence of what moves a person, and then to honor it. When it comes to making a woman feel genuinely seen and emotionally connected, few things are more powerful than admiring the fire that fuels her soul. Think of it this way. Every person carries within them a kind of sacred flame, their passion, their calling, that thing they lose track of time doing. For a woman, this could be anything from writing poetry in the quiet hours of dawn, to coaching a youth soccer team with relentless dedication, to building a business from scratch with grit and grace. When you take the time to notice that spark, not just what she does, but how alive she becomes when she talks about it, you are no longer merely complimenting her appearance or her smile. You are reaching into the deeper layers of her identity and saying, "I see you." In our modern world, where so many interactions are surface level and driven by quick swipes and hollow words, a man who listens with intent and speaks with sincere admiration stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. So when she talks about a project she's working on, a class she's teaching, or a goal she's chasing, lean in. Not physically, but with your attention. Listen not just to the words, but to the energy behind them. Then reflect that back to her. You could say, "I'm really moved by how driven you are. The way your eyes light up when you talk about your studio or your team, it's honestly magnetic." What this does is more than flatter. It affirms her, validates her purpose, and ties those feelings of excitement directly to you. And don't just stop at words. If possible, ask about it later. Show interest again. Maybe even offer help or encouragement in a way that doesn't intrude but supports. This consistency signals that your admiration isn't fleeting. It's rooted in respect and emotional maturity. The Stoics believed that virtue was expressed through action, and in the context of modern romance, admiration should also be active, not passive. The more she feels you genuinely value what gives her life meaning, the more she'll subconsciously associate you with that positive emotional charge. That's when attraction deepens, not just physically, but in a way that creates emotional gravity. Remember, a woman's passion isn't just a hobby, it's an extension of her spirit. To admire it is to touch her heart without needing to lay a hand on her. And when you do this with calm confidence, without trying to impress or manipulate, but simply because you respect who she is, that's when she begins to feel safe, seen, and drawn to you. Because in a world full of distractions, being fully present with someone is a rare and irresistible gift. And if this resonates with you, drop a comment right now. I admire the fire in her soul. Like this video, subscribe for more timeless wisdom, and remember, presence is power. Use it well. 3. Complement her energy and vibe. Listen carefully. Real men, men of experience, men of presence, don't chase beauty. They recognize energy. It's not just how a woman looks, it's how she feels. It's the vibe she radiates when she walks into a room. It's the way she moves, the light in her eyes, the way her presence shifts the entire atmosphere. Most guys, they settle for the lazy compliment. You're pretty. That's weak. That's forgettable. But you go deeper. You say, I love your energy. It's contagious. There's something magnetic about the way you carry yourself. It lights up the room. And when you say it like you mean it, like a man who sees through, not just at, everything changes. Because here's the truth. A beautiful woman hears she's pretty 100 times a day. But when you notice her energy, her vibe, you cut through the noise. You stand out. You become the one guy who truly sees her. And that's what makes you irresistible. That's what makes her lean in, curious, open. You're not playing the same game as other men. You're speaking directly to her soul. This is not a trick. This is timeless wisdom. Even the ancient Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." When you reflect back to her that she brings light, strength, or calm into the world, she starts to believe it more deeply. And the one she associates those powerful emotions with is you. You become her mirror, her anchor, her standard. In today's world full of fake filters, performative beauty, and empty praise, this kind of compliment hits different. It slices through all her defences and makes her feel seen, valued, wanted, not just for how she looks, but for who she is at her core. And here's where most men miss the mark. Women are not attracted to logic. They're attracted to how they feel around you. If you make her feel like she shines brighter just by being herself around you, she'll crave that feeling again and again. So look beyond the surface. Read her energy like a seasoned warrior reads the wind. Compliment not what's obvious, but what's rare, subtle, and powerful. That's the move of a man who leads, not begs, who attracts, not chases. Now here's your directive. Next time you're with her, pause. Look her in the eyes with calm certainty and say, "There's something about your vibe. It makes me want to be better. That's rare." Watch what happens. Watch her entire body soften. Watch her heart open. You just stepped into the top 1% of men. Remember this. When you compliment her energy, you reach her essence. Say it right and she'll never forget you. Ever. If you get it, if this hits you in the chest like it should, drop a comment below right now. I praise energy, not appearances. Not. 4. Acknowledge her strength. One of the most overlooked yet profoundly impactful ways to connect with a woman, especially one of depth and character, is to genuinely acknowledge her strength. And by strength, we don't just mean physical might or bold ambition, but the quiet, persistent power she displays in everyday life, how she holds things together when the world feels like it's unraveling, how she meets responsibilities without complaint, or how she stands tall through adversity with grace and poise. Men often focus on charm or beauty, but many women, especially those who've lived, grown, and endured, feel truly seen when their inner resilience is honored. As the ancient Stoics taught, true admiration lies in recognizing virtue, and what could be more virtuous than the ability to suffer wisely, work tirelessly, and love unconditionally? When you tell her, "I admire how strong you are. You handle things so gracefully, and it's inspiring. Not everyone could do what you do. Your strength is one of the things I respect most about you." You're not just complimenting her, you're validating her humanity, her story, and her journey. You're affirming her as a whole person, not just a role she plays. This kind of praise penetrates beyond the surface and speaks directly to her soul, reminding her that she is not invisible, not taken for granted. And in that moment, she will feel deeply drawn to you, not for your words alone, but for the depth of your recognition. To make this even more effective, think of her real-life struggles. Maybe she's raised children while holding down a full-time job, or perhaps she's supported others emotionally while silently managing her own battles. These are not just acts of duty, they are feats of quiet heroism. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Apply this to her life, and you'll see that every time she chose peace over conflict, perseverance over defeat, or kindness over bitterness, she exercised that same stoic power. Tell her you see that. And be sincere, women are remarkably perceptive about the energy behind your words. This kind of acknowledgement doesn't require poetic flourish. What matters is presence, awareness, and truth. In your day-to-day life, look for the small yet significant things she does. The way she comforts a friend, keeps the family connected, manages crises at work without losing composure, and point them out. Not in a showy or performative way, but with the quiet reverence you'd have for something sacred. When she sees that you recognize not just what she does, but who she is in those moments, it builds trust and a sense of being cherished in a way that's rare. As Maya Angelou once said, "I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it." Women who live by this creed deserve praise that echoes the dignity of their efforts. Now, I encourage you to reflect on the strong women in your life, be it your partner, mother, sister, or friend, and share in the comments how their strength has inspired you. What have you seen them endure? What quiet moments of power have left you in awe? By honoring them publicly, not only do you make them feel valued, but you also inspire other men to raise their awareness, and that ripple effect is part of the old Stoic ideal, to live with virtue, and to help others do the same. If you've made it this far, you already understand what most overlook. True strength often speaks in silence. The woman who holds everything together without asking for applause deserves more than surface praise. She deserves to be seen. Comment this to affirm your growth and honor her strength. I see the quiet power, and I choose to honor it. Leave this in the comments to remind yourself and others that real recognition goes beyond words. It reflects virtue, awareness, and presence. 5. Compliment her looks in a meaningful way. Let's be honest. When it comes to complimenting a woman on her looks, most men play it safe. They stick to the predictable. You're beautiful, you're sexy, you look amazing. And while there's nothing wrong with these words on their own, they often fall flat because they're generic, easily thrown around, and lack depth. If you want a woman to feel truly seen, if you want her to feel drawn to you in that deep, almost magnetic way, you need to elevate your words beyond surface-level flattery. This is where ancient Stoic wisdom quietly enters the room. The Stoics spoke often of attentiveness, presence, and the art of noticing. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And what that means here is that when you rely on vague compliments, you're projecting an imagined appreciation, not a real one rooted in truth. A powerful compliment isn't just about her appearance. It's about how she moves, the way her laughter lights up a room, or how her style reflects her personality. Instead of tossing out a generic, "You're beautiful," imagine saying something like, "There's a grace in the way you carry yourself that makes everything around you feel calm." Or, "When you laugh, Your eyes shine in a way that makes the whole moment feel warmer. See the difference? It's specific, thoughtful, and grounded in what you actually observe. That kind of praise hits deeper because it shows that you're paying attention, not just to her looks, but to her essence. And let's face it, in a world flooded with filters, edited photos, and swipe-left dating, authenticity is rare and magnetic. When a woman senses that you see her in a way that others don't, even in something as simple as the way she brushes her hair behind her ear, it creates emotional intimacy, which is far more powerful than any flashy pickup line. To do this well, you need to slow down and really look. Be present. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next, and instead, observe her. What about her is unique? What about her face lights up when she tells a story? How does her style express her mood or creativity? These are the things that show you're not just attracted to her, you're intrigued by her. That intrigue is what turns a simple compliment into a moment that stays with her. It's not about being poetic or overly romantic. It's about being real. And realness builds trust, which in turn creates attraction that isn't just physical, but emotional and enduring. In modern life, where conversations are often rushed and people feel invisible behind their screens, this kind of meaningful compliment stands out. It's a reminder that in order to connect deeply with someone, you don't need to be flashy or overly clever, you just need to be attentive. The next time you see her, try giving a compliment that shows her you've noticed the details others overlook. She won't just feel flattered, she'll feel understood. And when a woman feels understood, a natural closeness begins to grow. That's how you build the kind of attraction that isn't easily shaken, one rooted in presence, observation, and respect. So don't rush it. Watch, listen, notice, and when you speak, let your words carry the quiet power of someone who truly sees her. 6. Appreciate her sense of humor. Most men overlook one of the most powerful forces of connection, her humor. They chase charm, beauty, and mystery, but they forget that when a woman makes you laugh, not just smile, but laugh from your gut, that's a sign of something rare. Emotional alignment. This is ancient wisdom, yet it's rarely spoken with clarity. Let me tell you the truth. When you recognize a woman's sense of humor and genuinely praise it, you ignite a magnetism she can't resist. Why? Because in a world that often expects women to be pleasing, composed, and appropriate, being seen and celebrated for her wit gives her permission to be alive around you. That's power. That's intimacy. That's Stoic strategy in action. The old masters knew it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." When you reflect back to a woman that her presence brings laughter, lightness, life, you're showing her the colour of your thoughts. She feels it. It's real. Say it straight. You crack me up. Your humour is magnetic. You bring out the best in me with your playfulness. Don't just flatter her. Acknowledge her essence. It's not about being clever, it's about being clear. Show her that her ability to make you laugh makes your world feel lighter, and she will crave being in that world. This is psychological. Laughter triggers dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical. When you become the man who responds to her humour, her brain literally starts to associate you with pleasure. You're not just praising her, you're rewiring her attraction to you. And here's the kicker. Most men miss this chance. They think being the funny one earns them points. Wrong. True power lies in receiving joy and making her feel like the source. That's reverse psychology. That's Stoic seduction. That's how you lead, by recognizing value others don't even see. Remember what Oscar Wilde said, "A man's face is his autobiography. A woman's face is her work of fiction." Your job is to see through the fiction, to honor what's real underneath. Her laughter, her edge, her rhythm. This is how you stand out. You're not just another man trying to impress her. You're the rare man who gets her. And in today's noisy world of shallow compliments and empty validation, that kind of understanding is irresistible. You want to lead in life? Master the art of meaningful praise. Praise that cuts through the surface and hits the soul. Start with her humour, Appreciate it out loud. Tell her she's hilarious. Show her that her laughter moves you. Be the man who's not afraid to say, "You make everything more fun." And then watch how her eyes light up, because now you're not just a man. You're her mirror, her flame, her anchor. And if this insight hits something in you, like comment and subscribe and drop this in the comments, I choose to be the man who sees her, because that's where it begins. Not with tactics, not with tricks, with truth, spoken boldly. Remember, praise her humour, and she will be drawn to you again and again. 7. Recognize her effort. There is an ancient power in words spoken with presence, a strength not of dominance, but of awareness. And nowhere is this more true than when it comes to the quiet, often overlooked power of recognizing a woman's effort. In the chaos of modern life, where attention is fragmented and gratitude is often replaced by expectation, a man who sees, truly sees, the effort a woman puts forth becomes more than just a partner. He becomes an anchor, a rare presence in her world of invisible labour. This isn't about flattery or pretense. It's about being deeply present, rooted in the wisdom that Marcus Aurelius once echoed when he said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And when your thoughts begin to include careful attention to her, to what she gives, what she sacrifices, and what she carries daily, something profound shifts, not just in her, but in you as well. Think about how often the small, consistent efforts a woman makes go unnoticed, the way she gets up early to prepare for her day while still making space for yours, the way she navigates her own stress while still offering you comfort, the way she remembers what matters to you even when no one remembers what matters to her. These things are easy to miss if you're not paying attention, but when you do pay attention, when you pause and say, "I see how much you're doing, and I appreciate it," you're not just offering words, you're giving her emotional oxygen in a world that too often demands her breath without giving anything back. And here's the truth that wise men through the ages have always known. The greatest form of strength is presence, not dominance, not silence. Presence. Recognition of effort is not just some tactic to make her like you more. It's a window into emotional maturity. It tells her that you're not just interested in who she is when she's glowing or dressed to impress. It tells her that you're interested in her whole self, the version of her that holds things together behind the scenes, the version that shows up when it's hard, the version that chooses to love even when she feels tired, stressed, or unseen. This kind of recognition isn't flashy, but it's potent. It's the kind of praise that doesn't just graze the surface. It sinks in and stays. And what makes it powerful is your sincerity. When you say, "I love how much thought you put into making that dinner," or "I noticed how patient you were during that difficult conversation," or even simply, "Thank you for always thinking of us," you're affirming not just her actions, but her worth. Let's bring this into modern life. If you're a man in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, you've probably been through seasons where emotional expression felt like a risk. Maybe you grew up in a time when men were taught that acknowledgement was weakness, or that silence was strength. But Stoicism in its true form, the kind Seneca taught, was never about emotional coldness. It was about discipline of the mind, awareness of the moment, and clarity of action. Seneca himself said, "Nothing is more honourable than a grateful heart." So if you want to live by the old Stoic code, don't harden, soften with intention. Let your gratitude be vocal, specific, and frequent. Let it be a habit, not just a gesture. Real life offers us countless chances to see a woman's effort, but only if we choose to be present. Maybe she's the one who remembers to refill the coffee, pays attention to birthdays, or checks in with your aging parents without needing to be reminded. Maybe she's working a full-time job while still showing up with love and patience at home. Or maybe she's simply trying, really trying, to heal, to grow, to love better, and to meet you in that journey. And sometimes all she needs is for you to say, "I see that." That's it. No grand poetry, just real, grounded appreciation. And this matters more than most men realise. Especially as we grow older, as relationships deepen or strain under the weight of time, careers, children, or past heartaches, it's easy to slip into autopilot. We assume the other person knows how we feel, or we tell ourselves that what they do is expected. But connection isn't built on assumption, it's built on intention. When you recognize her effort, you're choosing intention over assumption, presence over passivity. You're becoming the kind of man who sees not just what's obvious, but what's subtle and real. And let's talk about admiration. Many men think they need to impress a woman with success or gifts, but here's the secret. Admiration isn't earned through your status, it's earned through your attentiveness. A woman will feel more drawn to a man who sees her emotional labor than to one who buys her expensive things but is emotionally absent. And this is where many men go wrong, not because they don't care, but because they don't express what they feel. But a compliment that reflects true observation, like, "I noticed how you stayed calm even when things were stressful today," can be more powerful than a bouquet of flowers. It shows her that you are paying attention when it counts, and that is magnetic. There's a kind of intimacy that forms when appreciation becomes a regular practice. It makes a woman feel emotionally safe, which is the foundation of attraction. Women are not drawn to perfection. They're drawn to presence. When she feels like you see her in the moments no one else notices, when you speak up and name the goodness in her that she often keeps hidden, she doesn't just feel flattered, she feels valued. And when a woman feels valued, she will open up to you in ways that create deeper connection, trust, and intimacy. This is where real love begins, not in the fireworks, but in the slow, steady flame of being seen. Now, if you're the kind of man who's been through things, loss, divorce, fatherhood, the quiet seasons of loneliness, you might be tempted to think it's too late to express this kind of tenderness. But it's never too late. In fact, the wisdom you carry makes your recognition even more meaningful. Because you've lived, you know what matters. And when you take that life experience and use it to praise a woman with honesty and presence, it changes everything. It brings healing. It creates legacy. It transforms not just your relationship with her, but your relationship with yourself. So how do you start? Begin by noticing. Pay attention to what she does without being asked. Look for the effort behind the results, and when you see it, say something. Don't wait for a perfect moment. The power is in the ordinary. Compliment her when she's folding laundry, planning the family trip, or helping a friend. Admire the strength she shows in keeping things together when life is chaotic. And if the words feel clumsy at first, that's okay. You don't have to be eloquent, you just have to be real. And if you're already doing this, if you've seen how her eyes light up when you genuinely acknowledge her effort, then you know the power of praise. You've felt that shift. You've watched her soften, open, and draw closer. Share that with others, because too many men are walking through life with good women beside them and no idea how to make those women feel truly seen. Your story, your example, could be the key that helps another man wake up to what matters most. In the end, we don't need to wait for anniversaries, milestones, or crises to say something meaningful. We can do it now, today, with a simple, sincere acknowledgement of effort. Because when a woman feels recognized, she feels cherished. And when she feels cherished, she thrives. And when she thrives, so does the relationship. That is the quiet, enduring power of praise. That is the wisdom of the old Stoics, made real in modern love. 8. Tell her how she makes you feel. In a world where compliments are often cheap, repeated and thrown around like loose change, the rarest and most profound praise a woman can receive isn't about her looks, her style, or even her intelligence. It's about how she makes you feel, not in the poetic, flowery sense that drips with dramatics, nor in the half-hearted way some men mutter sweet nothings to earn approval, but in a way that is grounded, calm, and absolutely true. This kind of emotional acknowledgement bypasses her logical mind and touches something older and deeper within her, something timeless. When a man, solid in his being, pauses and says, "When I'm with you, the noise fades," he's not flattering. He's opening a window to his inner world and inviting her to see the impact she has on it. That's not weak. That's not soft. That's courageous and incredibly attractive, because women aren't drawn to praise that simply observes them. They are drawn to words that feel them. There's a quiet power in sharing how a woman's presence changes your internal landscape. You could tell her she's beautiful, and you should sometimes, but understand that she's likely heard that before, 100 times, from men who barely meant it. But how often has she heard, "You give me clarity," or "When you laugh, I feel something in me unwind"? Those kinds of words, when spoken from a place of stillness and truth, land with a different weight. They don't decorate her ego, they affirm her essence. And that matters. The Stoics, those pillars of ancient masculine wisdom, knew something about the power of presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But even in their call to inner discipline, the Stoics understood the value of meaningful connection. They knew that the right kind of companion didn't distract a man from himself. She reminded him of who he was at his best. When Epictetus taught that we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them, he wasn't just offering advice for adversity, he was underscoring the value of emotional mastery. And mastery includes the capacity to feel, to notice, and to speak honestly from the heart. So when you tell a woman, "I feel calm around you," or "Your presence brings me peace," what you're offering is more than admiration. You're revealing emotional awareness, a quality most men are taught to suppress. But make no mistake, being emotionally attuned is not weakness. It is a high form of masculine strength, because only a man who knows himself can speak openly about what moves him. And only a man who pays attention, deep, real attention, can truly notice the way a woman's energy affects his own. That kind of attention makes a woman feel safe, seen and understood. And more than being looked at or desired, most women long to be understood. They want to know that their presence matters, that they leave a mark not just on your eyes, but on your soul. And when you show her that her spirit shifts something in you, not just your thoughts, but your state of being, you invite her into an emotional space few men ever think to create. This isn't about strategy. This isn't a line to use or a technique to manipulate attraction. This is about stepping into a deeper kind of masculinity, the kind that doesn't need to impress, because it understands the power of truth. Think about your own life. Have you ever had a moment when someone's presence alone made you feel anchored, more at ease, or simply better? Now imagine being told you have that effect on someone. It's unforgettable. So why withhold that from a woman who genuinely moves you? Why hide what you feel when expressing it can deepen the connection between you in ways no gift or gesture ever could? Most men fear vulnerability because they mistake it for fragility. But as Brené Brown famously said, vulnerability is the birthplace of connection and the path to the feeling of worthiness. And the Stoics would agree, not because they were emotional, but because they valued authenticity above pretense. When a woman sees that you can be emotionally honest without losing your composure, that you can speak your inner truth without needing validation, she doesn't see weakness. She sees a man of substance. She sees strength with soul. In practice, this takes mindfulness. It requires you to slow down and really feel what's happening inside you when you're around her. Do you feel lighter, more focused, at peace? Those are signs of emotional resonance. And if you can articulate that, even in the simplest way, you're doing something most men never even think to do. You're building intimacy, not with grand gestures, but with presence. A moment of stillness where you say, "You make me feel safe to be myself," can forge a bond stronger than months of surface-level charm. Real-life wisdom shows us this time and time again. A man may win a woman's attention with charisma, but he keeps her trust with depth. And trust is born when she knows that she doesn't just entertain you, she grounds you. That her voice calms your storms. That her nearness helps you breathe more deeply. These are the things she'll remember. Not your jokes, not your looks, but the way your eyes softened when you told her, "When I'm near you, the chaos in my head quiets down." And here's the paradox. when you express your inner experience without the goal of getting something in return, when your praise is a reflection, not a request, it creates attraction far stronger than any attempt to impress ever could. She's drawn not just to your words, but to the presence behind your words, the honesty, the awareness, the self-possession. It's why some men, though quiet and humble, are magnetic. They speak less, but when they do, their words carry weight, because they come from a place of felt truth. And a woman will always be drawn to a man who feels deeply and speaks clearly. So the next time you're with her, your wife, your partner, or the woman you've just started to get to know, don't default to old scripts. Don't recite cliches. Sit with yourself. Breathe. Feel. Then let your words rise not from your mind, but from your center. Say something like, I don't know what it is, but when I'm with you, things feel simpler, lighter, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. That's not poetry. That's presence. And presence, my friend, is what separates the man she remembers from the one she forgets. In a time when men are often either emotionally shut down or emotionally explosive, being a calm, clear, emotionally articulate man is rare, and rare is always attractive. You don't need to overshare or bleed emotions. You need to be real. And that realness, expressed through sincere words, forms the kind of bond that's felt more than understood. As the great poet Rumi once wrote, "The way you make me feel is hard to explain. You make me smile in a special kind of way. You make me fall deeper in love every day." Let your praise be like that, real, resonant, and rooted in the moment. Now I invite you to reflect. When was the last time you told a woman, not what you think about her, but what you feel when you're around her? If it's been a while, try it. No performance, no agenda, just truth. And if you've experienced a moment like this, share it in the comments below. Your story might remind another man of his own forgotten wisdom and inspire him to speak the truth he's been carrying silently in his chest. And that's a wrap, my friend. We've just explored 8 powerful ways to compliment a woman, ways that reach far beyond surface-level praise. And I hope by now you've seen something important. Real connection doesn't come from clever lines or trying to impress someone. It comes from presence, from paying attention, from speaking to the truth of who she is, not just what she looks like. The Stoics believed that we should treat others with dignity and honor, not because it gets us something, but because it reflects who we are. That same idea applies here. When you compliment a woman in a way that makes her feel genuinely seen and appreciated, not just for her appearance, but for her mind, her spirit, her values, you stand out. Why? Because sadly, most men don't do that. They focus on the obvious and they miss the meaningful. So here's my honest advice to you. Man to man, slow down, start noticing more. When she tells you about her goals, listen. When she overcomes something tough, acknowledge it. When she brings light into a room, say it. Your words have power, but only when they come from a place of sincerity and respect. Don't just flatter her. Honor her. That's how admiration turns into attraction. That's how a spark becomes a genuine connection. And remember, you're not saying these things to win her over. You're saying them because she deserves to hear them. And when your compliments come from that place, pure, honest, and grounded in truth, she'll feel it. She won't just be flattered. She'll be drawn to you because you're offering something real. So if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps the message reach more people. Subscribe if you want more grounded wisdom like this. And drop a comment below. Which of these compliments are you going to try first? Or better yet, have you ever received or given a compliment that really stuck with you? Let's talk about it. Thanks so much for watching. Stay sharp, stay sincere, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. 9 signs a woman is silently suffering for you. Old Stoic wisdom. Sometimes the heart sees what is invisible to the eye. H. Jackson Brown, Jr. Have you ever sensed something wasn't quite right with a woman close to you, like her words and actions don't align, or there's a quiet sorrow behind her smile? Often, when a woman is emotionally invested but can't express it openly, she suffers in silence. It's not always dramatic or obvious. In fact, it's usually the opposite: subtle changes, quiet glances, or withdrawn energy that reveal the most. This video uncovers 9 quiet signs a woman may be enduring emotional pain for your sake, even if she never says a word. These aren't just emotional clues. They reflect age-old Stoic insight into human nature, teaching us to observe, reflect, and respond with calm wisdom. Stick with us until the end. The final sign is the most revealing and one many men overlook. If you're a man who values understanding and emotional intelligence, and you want to learn how to read the signals beneath the surface, this is for you. Hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss content like this again. Let's explore these signs, because sometimes the things unsaid speak the loudest. Sign number 1. She distances herself from you without a clear explanation. She quietly distances herself, and not because she's lost interest, but because being near you unsettles her more than silence ever could. One moment she's present, sharing small laughter or glances, and the next she seems to vanish into her own world, her messages fewer, her tone more measured, her availability suddenly scarce. This isn't rejection, this is self-preservation. Like a woman standing too close to a flame, she's drawn to the warmth, but afraid of being consumed. It's easy to mistake her withdrawal for indifference, but a wiser man sees the truth in her silence. As the Stoics said, "He who angers you conquers you." In the same way, she fights to not let her feelings conquer her. This distance is not a wall, but a trembling shield, her attempt to steady herself in the face of emotions she can't voice. When she cancels a plan or responds late, it's not laziness, it's restraint. Vulnerability terrifies her, especially when the feelings are real. And when you do see her, pay close attention, not just to her words, but to the way her eyes glance at yours when she thinks you're not looking. There, in that stolen moment, is the truth she won't say. As Marcus Aurelius advised, observe what is happening beneath the surface, dive deep into the soul, and learn the essence. Her emotional retreat is not a lack of feeling, but an overflow. She steps back, not to leave, but to cope. You must see the hidden heartbreak in her silence, the kind that chooses absence over pain. She's not playing games. She's protecting herself from a loss she's already imagining. In life, we often assume that silence means the end, but sometimes silence is the beginning of a war within. Think of the veteran who flinches at sudden noise, not because he's weak, but because he's been there before. Similarly, this woman might have loved, lost, and learned, and now she hesitates not out of apathy, but out of wisdom hardened by sorrow. Her distance is not a punishment for you. It's a scar she's carrying into every closeness. Recognize that, and you'll understand her better than any words can explain. And here's where your strength as a man must rise, not to pursue aggressively, but to stand still with awareness, patience, and respect. Don't chase, notice, don't demand, invite safety. A wise man does not reveal all his thoughts at once, said Seneca, and perhaps neither does she. If you can see past the coolness, beyond the silences, you'll realize her heart still speaks, just in a language only the attentive can hear. Now ask yourself, have you seen this before? Has a woman in your life pulled away, not because she stopped caring, but because caring too much frightened her? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your insight could help another man understand the quiet grief in a woman's heart. Stay tuned for the next sign. It's one that will open your eyes even further. Sign number 2. She seeks your attention through indirect actions. She seeks your attention through indirect actions, subtle signals wrapped in quiet gestures that whisper louder than any spoken confession. A woman silently suffering for you often won't declare her emotions outright, especially if she fears rejection or believes you might not feel the same. Instead, she gently nudges your awareness, hoping you'll recognize the patterns. Perhaps she cracks a clever joke during a group conversation, but watches only you for a smile. Maybe she shares a quote on social media that eerily reflects a moment you shared or a belief you once expressed, and though it seems general, it strikes you as oddly personal. This is no accident. It's deliberate, an invisible thread she's weaving between the two of you, hoping you'll feel its tug. These indirect bids for attention are modern echoes of the ancient Stoic dance between silence and desire, where vulnerability is cloaked in measured action rather than words. Like a seasoned chess player, she moves with caution, placing her emotional pawns strategically, one post, one glance, one random question at a time. You may notice she dresses a little differently when you're around, not to impress the world, but to catch your eye. It's not vanity, it's hope, wrapped in fabric and perfume. She asks about a topic you once mentioned in passing, something insignificant to others but unforgettable to her. These aren't coincidences, they are calculated acts of quiet longing. In her mind, she's playing a solitary game where each move tests whether you'll notice her presence without her having to make a grand reveal. She longs to be seen, not as just another woman in the room, but as the one who lingers in your thoughts after the crowd has faded. And in today's world, filled with distractions, alerts, and endless scrolling, it's all too easy to miss these signs. That's why you, as a man navigating maturity, must sharpen your perception. Stoic wisdom teaches us to read between the lines, to observe the unspoken. The old philosophers didn't chase noise, they listened to silence, because truth often lives there. So when a woman engages in these small, seemingly inconsequential behaviours, recognize that they may hold deeper meaning. Don't brush them off as chance. Consider what it takes for someone to reach out without words, to risk being overlooked while still hoping to be understood. The lesson here is not only about decoding her signs, but also about stepping up when you see them. Life's too short to play passive when connection is staring you in the face. If you sense she's reaching for you in silence, respond not with grand gestures, but with presence. Start a real conversation. Compliment her effort subtly. Mirror her interest with your own. Show her she doesn't have to suffer quietly, that you're man enough to notice without being told. And stay tuned, because the next sign will uncover something even more unexpected. Something that may change how you see her entirely. If this resonates with you, if you've ever looked back and realized she was reaching for you in silence, drop this in the comments right now. I see what others miss. Sign number 3. She acts strangely when she's around you. Pay attention. When a woman begins to act strangely around you, nervous laughter, fidgeting with her hair, stuttering over simple words, it's not because she's awkward. It's because you shake her core. You make her heart race and her thoughts scatter. This isn't confusion. This isn't disinterest. It's intensity. It's the weight of emotion crashing into her composure. She wants to seem calm, collected, unbothered, but her body betrays her. The ancient Stoics taught that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. And that's what's happening here. She's not afraid of you. She's afraid of what you make her feel. That vulnerability, that loss of control, that desire. She's not showing weakness. She's showing a heart in conflict. Her body becomes a battlefield. She crosses her arms, not out of coldness, but to protect what's being stirred inside. She avoids eye contact not because you don't matter, but because you matter too much. She stands near the fire, hoping not to get burned, but still drawn to the heat. If you've seen her giggle nervously, twist her bracelet, or fumble for words, understand this. She's battling a storm she can't explain. These are not coincidences. These are signals. From a woman torn between longing and fear. Her silence is not emptiness, it's volume turned inward. You must wake up and see this for what it is. A woman doesn't get nervous over someone she feels nothing for. No one fakes that kind of instinctive reaction. You've triggered something ancient in her, a primal pull, and she doesn't know whether to flee or stay. That confusion is your advantage if you're man enough to notice it and act with presence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." If you want to lead in love, you must recognize the signals others miss. Her gestures, her eyes, her silence, all of it is a code, and you're the one meant to decipher it. This is not about playing games. It's about understanding human nature. Mastery of relationships starts with mastery of awareness. What she hides is real. What she fears is rejection. And what she craves, whether she admits it or not, is connection. So step up. Don't dismiss her odd behavior as irrelevant. It's a red flag, but not of warning, of invitation. The great men of old didn't wait for certainty. They acted when others hesitated, and so should you. This moment is your test. Pass it. The battlefield of attraction is silent, invisible, but deadly real. And if you ignore the signs, you'll lose without even knowing you were in the game. This isn't just about love. It's about becoming the kind of man who sees deeply, acts decisively, and lives victoriously. There's no room for hesitation here. She's suffering in silence, and the question is, will you keep her suffering, or will you rise and respond? Leave a comment right now. I choose to see what others ignore. If this opened your eyes, even a little, like, share and subscribe to make sure you never miss the wisdom you need to dominate life, love, and legacy. Sign number 4. She feels jealous but tries to hide it. It's a quiet storm that brews beneath a calm surface, a subtle but unmistakable signal that she's emotionally invested far more than her words will ever confess. Picture this. You're talking about another woman, maybe a colleague or an old friend, and suddenly her eyes shift, her smile tightens, and there's a flicker of something. Sarcasm, dismissiveness, or even an attempt to seem unfazed. But behind that composed exterior, there's a battle between pride and vulnerability. Stoic wisdom tells us, "He who angers you conquers you." And in this context, she's wrestling with the urge to show you she cares, without handing over her emotional power. Often, she'll change the subject or give a quick laugh to disguise the sting she feels, yet her tone might drop an octave, her posture might close off, and these tiny changes speak volumes if you know where to look. Her jealousy is not about control or drama, it's about longing, fear, and the ache of wanting to be enough. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." Her silent suffering is dyed with the colours of affection, insecurity, and hope. She may even cloak her questions in casual tones. So, is she pretty? Or do you talk to her often? But make no mistake, these are quiet probes to understand her place in your world. Her silence is not absence, it's restraint. She's watching, measuring, and internally negotiating what she means to you. This type of quiet jealousy isn't loud or confrontational. It's the kind that comes from depth and dignity, from a place where she hopes you notice without needing to spell it out. That's why the Stoics taught us to observe not just what is said, but what is unsaid. If she didn't care, there would be no reaction at all. So when you see these signs, pause and reflect, not just on her, but on how you've made her feel. In real life, many women suffer quietly because they fear looking desperate or clingy. In their silence, they preserve their self-respect, but it doesn't make the emotional toll any lighter. If you're wise enough to see through the veil, consider showing her she matters in ways that are subtle, sincere, and steady. Perhaps you can offer her the reassurance she won't ask for, but clearly hopes for. As the great philosopher Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Her concealed jealousy is part of her emotional trial, and recognizing it might be your moment of growth too. If you've ever noticed this in someone, or felt it yourself, share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might help someone else see more clearly. And remember, what's hidden isn't absent. Pay attention. The next sign will take you even deeper. If you've ever seen that quiet shift in her eyes, the subtle retreat behind a smile, you've witnessed a depth of emotion most men miss. Recognizing her silent suffering is not just awareness, it's maturity. Comment this if you understand the weight of what's unspoken. I choose to see what others ignore. Your insight might be the sign someone else needs to wake up. Let's raise the standard. Sign number 5. She clings to the memories you shared. She clings to the memories you shared, not just the grand gestures or milestones, but the tiny, almost forgettable moments that most would overlook. Perhaps you cracked a joke over coffee months ago, or touched her shoulder when she was feeling down. And now, seemingly out of nowhere, she recalls it with striking clarity. It might seem random to you, even trivial, but to her, these fragments are sacred. They are pieces of a story she silently replays in her mind, not because she's stuck in the past, but because it's the only way she can stay connected to you without revealing the depth of her longing. This quiet remembering is not mere nostalgia. It's an emotional anchor, a subtle yet powerful indication that your presence lingers within her, even when you're far apart. You might catch it in the way her voice softens when she recounts something you said, or in the slight pause she takes, as if reliving that moment all over again. These are not rehearsed tales meant to impress you. They are echoes of feelings she cannot say out loud. The old Stoics believed that true strength lies not in detachment, but in the mastery of emotion. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." For her, the happiness she extracts from these memories is bittersweet. She's trying to stay strong, to endure the silence and the distance, but she's also silently suffering, because these memories stir hope for a future that perhaps hasn't materialized. Her mind builds a sanctuary around these small but significant moments because they keep the warmth of your connection alive. Like a warrior who wears scars beneath his armor, she bears the weight of what's unspoken with a quiet grace. And if you're wise enough to notice this sign, you'll begin to see just how deeply you affect her. In today's world of constant distractions and shallow attention, such devotion is rare. We swipe, scroll, and move on so quickly that we often miss the depth in someone's eyes, the unspoken loyalty hidden behind a smile, or the quiet heartbreak masked by light conversation. If a woman remembers the little things you shared, it means you've touched something deep within her, something real. This isn't about being sentimental. It's about recognizing the quiet ways people show they care when words fail them. When she holds on to these memories, she's not just reminiscing. She's investing her emotions, her time, her inner world around who you are and what you meant to her. And though she may never admit it outright, these recollections are often her way of whispering, "You mattered. You still do." So what can you do with this knowledge? Pay attention. Don't brush off her stories or treat her memories as random chatter. If she's choosing to share them with you, she's offering a window into her emotional world. Honor that. Lean in, listen, and look deeper. Ask yourself whether you're present enough to create more moments worth remembering. In the end, wisdom isn't just about understanding others. It's about knowing when to act with compassion, especially when someone's love for you shows up not in grand declarations, but in the quietest corners of their heart. And as we move to the next sign, keep this truth close. What is unspoken often carries the greatest weight. Stay alert. What comes next is even more revealing. Sign number 6. She hesitates before replying to your messages. You've seen it before. She's online. She's seen your message. But there's silence. No response for minutes. Sometimes hours. It's not because she's playing games. It's not because she's ignoring you. It's because she's wrestling with her own mind. Her fingers hover over the screen, typing, deleting, retyping. Every single word she sends you is filtered through a storm of fear, hope, and vulnerability. She's not disinterested. She's terrified. Terrified that the wrong word could expose the depth of her feelings, that she might reveal how much she actually cares, that her mask might crack. That's why the message you get often feels short, flat, even cold. But don't be fooled. Behind that one-liner are 10 drafts she erased, each one revealing more than she dared to admit. Stoic wisdom tells us, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Zrania Epictetus. And here she is, valuing your presence, your attention, your opinion, so much that she loses control over how to speak to you. That's not weakness. That's the raw power of deep emotional investment. It shows just how much you affect her. You've become the battlefield where her stoic mask and her trembling heart collide. Watch her when she talks to you face to face. Notice the tiny pause before her words come out. It's the same story. That hesitation, that pause, that breath she takes, that's the weight of everything she's not saying. She suffers in silence. And the tragedy? Most men miss it. They brush it off. They think she's cold, disinterested, or playing hard to get. They don't see the storm raging behind her calm eyes. They don't see the war between her longing and her fear. If you've ever made a woman feel so much that she's scared to speak freely, you are not ordinary to her. You are the exception. You've pierced her armor. And yet, instead of recognizing this rare emotional signal, most men run, misinterpret, or push her away. Don't be one of them. Be the man who sees. Be the man who understands. Be the man who gives her space to feel safe, not judged. Because once she feels that safety, once she feels that you see her, truly see her, not just her words, but the silence between them, she will open in ways you never imagined. Remember this. Her hesitation is not distance. It's depth. Modern life teaches men to chase what's obvious, what's loud, what's easy, but real power lies in the quiet, in the subtle, in what's unspoken. That's where the truth lives. The old Stoics knew this. They taught that what is soft and hidden often holds the greatest strength. He who is brave is free. Zrania, and bravery, for her, is writing a message to the man who holds her heart in his hands, not knowing whether you'll crush it or protect it. If you see her hesitation, respond with clarity, with calm, with presence. That's how you lead. That's how you win. Now, if this hits something in you, don't let it just pass. Like this. Comment below. I choose to see the truth behind silence. And if you're ready for the next sign, the one that reveals everything, hit subscribe now. Because what's coming next will change the way you see women forever. Sign number 7. She tries hard to seem indifferent around you. At first glance, this kind of woman might appear emotionally distant, detached, or disinterested. Her words may come off as polite but clipped, her tone neutral, and her demeanor reserved. To the untrained eye, it could seem like she simply doesn't care, like you're no different from any other passing presence in her day. But a deeper look reveals subtle signs that tell a very different story. It's in the small cues, the slight stiffness in her posture when you enter the room, the way her eyes flit away at the very moment a gaze might reveal too much, or how her speech grows unusually measured when a conversation skirts the edge of something personal. These are not the mannerisms of someone unaffected. Rather, they are the defense mechanisms of someone who feels too much and is unsure whether it's safe to show it. The ancient Stoics, with their deep grasp of human emotion beneath the surface of self-control, remind us we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And here, in this restrained woman's silence, is exactly that kind of imagined suffering, deep, internal, often invisible to those who aren't looking closely. Her indifference is not a sign of rejection, it's a shield. It's armor she wears not to mislead, but to protect her own heart from being broken. This facade is forged from past wounds, quiet disappointments, and moments when vulnerability led to pain. So she wears emotional distance like a cloak, hoping it will shelter her from the possibility of getting hurt again. What many men miss, especially those between 35 and 70 who have lived through their own versions of love, heartbreak, and personal reinvention, is that this coldness can be misread entirely. In fact, the quieter she is, the louder her silence speaks. It says she's thinking, feeling, battling something inside. Her body language betrays the truth she's trying to hide. She might pull away slightly even as she stays in conversation, keep her face expressionless, even as her eyes soften, or maintain just enough distance to protect a heart that wants to leap forward but dares not. There's a deep paradox at play here. She wants closeness, but fears what it might unravel within her. Like a dam holding back floodwaters, one small crack in her composure might lead to emotions she's not ready to face, much less reveal. This behavior is not unique to her. In fact, it is deeply human. How many of us have smiled politely while our insides churned with uncertainty or buried feelings we didn't know how to express? In modern life, with its constant pressure to appear composed, successful, and unbothered, many women and men become skilled at hiding what hurts. A woman who acts indifferent toward you might be doing so not because you don't matter, but because you matter more than she's comfortable admitting. Her silence could be filled with internal dialogue, questioning whether she's safe to trust, to hope, or to let herself be seen. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher whose insights transcend time, once said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." For her, maintaining that calm exterior is her way of surviving emotional intensity. She has likely built routines and emotional boundaries that keep her steady, and anything, or anyone, that stirs her feelings might threaten that carefully curated balance. You see, she's not trying to manipulate or play games. She's trying to preserve her equilibrium, and it takes strength for her to maintain that illusion of calm, especially when her emotions threaten to break through the surface. As a man of experience, possibly having gone through a divorce, lost love, or even rediscovered intimacy later in life, you might recognize this pattern. It's not uncommon in today's world, where emotional self-protection is almost instinctive. The wisdom, then, lies not in reacting to the surface behavior, but in perceiving what lies beneath. A wise man doesn't retreat at the first sign of coldness, nor does he press too hard. He observes. He listens, not just to words, but to silences, hesitations, and shifts in energy. He understands that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, conflicted, and hidden behind practiced indifference. So how should you respond when you suspect a woman is silently struggling with emotions she can't voice? First and foremost, with patience. Gentle consistency becomes your strength. It's not about grand gestures, but about steady presence. Show her that you are not easily shaken, that you can hold space for both her silence and her eventual truth. It's in the quiet moments, sharing coffee without words, a simple text asking how she's doing, remembering the small things she mentioned, that trust is built. If she flinches from intimacy, don't take it as a personal slight. Recognize it as her armor, reacting to the possibility of closeness. Respect her emotional pace. Let her know that her feelings, even the unspoken ones, are safe with you. This, in many ways, is where Old Stoic wisdom meets modern masculinity. It's not about being stoic in the way pop culture sometimes misunderstands, emotionless or detached, but in the way the Stoics intended, present, discerning, composed, yet deeply empathetic. Emotional discipline paired with emotional intelligence. When you bring that kind of energy into a relationship, especially with a woman who's unsure whether she can trust her feelings, you give her the very thing she lacks, emotional safety. That's when the armor might start to come off. That's when conversations grow deeper, silences become more comfortable, and a quiet bond begins to form. In the end, it's not about fixing her or forcing anything. It's about understanding. Just as you may have carried your own silent struggles, she's carrying hers. And maybe, just maybe, your gentle presence will remind her that she doesn't have to carry them alone. The world is full of people walking around armored in indifference, and the strongest among us are those who can see beyond it without judgment. If you've ever encountered a woman like this, or perhaps even recognized this tendency in yourself, reflect on what it means to feel too much and show too little. Emotional restraint doesn't mean emotional absence. It often means the opposite. So the next time you notice a woman holding back, appearing nonchalant when your presence seems to stir something in her, don't rush to conclusions. Watch closely. Listen intently. Respond kindly. Because when someone pretends not to care, The truth is usually the opposite. They care more than they're ready to admit. And your response in that moment might not just change the course of your relationship, it might help her feel seen for the first time in a long time. That's the quiet power of discernment, patience, and old Stoic wisdom applied to the complexities of modern love. Let that be the lesson, and perhaps the beginning of a new understanding. Sign number 8. She overreacts to little things you do. At first glance, it might seem like she's just being dramatic or overly sensitive, but there's a deeper truth at play, one rooted in emotion, vulnerability, and unspoken longing. Have you ever made a harmless joke or thrown out a casual comment, only to be met with an unexpectedly intense reaction, an eye roll, a cold shoulder, or a sharp retort that feels disproportionate to the moment? This isn't just moodiness or irrational behavior. It's a signal. You see, when a woman is emotionally invested but hasn't fully opened up, her feelings can leak out sideways. She's not trying to make you feel guilty or confused. Her heart is simply louder than her logic in those moments. Perhaps you mentioned another woman in passing and noticed her stiffen, withdraw, or make a sarcastic jab. Or maybe you asked her to join you in something simple, and her face lit up like she'd been waiting for it, only to quickly compose herself as if it meant nothing. These seemingly small reactions are actually emotional flare signals, flashing in moments she can't quite control. In ancient Stoic philosophy, there's a concept called apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense, but rather a state of being unshaken by emotion. Yet even the Stoics acknowledged that passion, if hidden or suppressed too long, will find a crack to escape through. That's exactly what's happening here. Her outbursts, her quiet silences, her subtle digs or unguarded smiles, all of it is evidence that you stir something powerful in her, something she doesn't fully understand or perhaps feels she shouldn't be feeling. In today's world, where emotional restraint is often misread as strength and vulnerability mistaken for weakness, many women feel they have to swallow their feelings rather than express them directly. But feelings have weight, and eventually even the strongest will can't carry them without signs of strain. So when she overreacts, don't just focus on the surface, go deeper. Ask yourself, why did that small moment spark such a strong response? What does it mean that your actions, your words, even your presence can cause a shift in her emotional weather? These are not the signs of indifference. These are the signs of someone silently suffering because she cares more than she lets on. In modern relationships, especially for men between 35 and 70 who have seen a fair share of life's emotional tides, it's easy to overlook these subtleties or write them off as emotional volatility. But if you want to understand women, not just know them, but truly understand them, you have to listen beyond what's spoken and observe what's quietly shown. What should you do when you see these signs? Don't mock them, don't dismiss them, and don't push her to get over it. Instead, recognize the weight your presence holds in her world. Speak with more care. Make your intentions clearer. Show that you're emotionally available, not just physically present. Because when a woman is silently suffering, reacting strongly to little things, it means she's already emotionally intertwined with you, often more than she dares to admit. These are the moments where a man grounded in wisdom, in awareness, can step forward not to fix her, but to hold space for her, to meet her where she is without judgment. That's what strength looks like, and that understanding will lead you directly into the heart of the next sign, one that reveals everything. So stay sharp, because what comes next might just change how you see her forever. Sign number 9. She avoids touching you even in the most natural moments. She avoids touching you even in the most natural, seemingly innocent moments. And that, my friend, is no accident. It's not indifference, nor is it a sign she dislikes you. In fact, the truth is often the opposite. This is not distance for distance's sake, but emotional restraint in its most quietly intense form. She doesn't hesitate to shake hands with others. She doesn't shy away from a playful pat or casual hug with them. But when it comes to you, her body language rewrites itself. A handshake becomes a hurdle. A light touch becomes a calculated risk. A hug? That's a storm she can't afford to summon. Why? Because touch, especially when it's with someone who moves her emotionally, isn't harmless for her. It's revealing, it's dangerous, and above all, it's honest. Her avoidance of you is not because she wants less, it's because she feels more. She keeps her hands to herself because her heart is betraying her, and she knows that even a brush of the fingers might be enough to expose what she's fighting to keep hidden. Watch carefully next time you're near her. Does she cross her arms just as you approach? Does she instinctively step back half a pace, only to quickly smile and try to act like she didn't? These aren't coincidences. These are flickers of internal conflict, the kind that can only come from emotional overload. A woman's body is often the first place her truth surfaces, long before her words catch up. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." What she's running from isn't you. It's the impact you have on her. It's the overwhelming thought that if she lets down her guard for even a second, her emotions will betray her, and everything she's carefully buried will come rushing to the surface. And here's where your experience matters. A seasoned man, one who's lived enough, loved enough, and lost enough, knows what hidden affection looks like. You don't need declarations. You don't need loud confessions. You need to see what's happening beneath the surface. There's a particular flicker in her eyes when she looks at you, momentary, fleeting, but unmistakable. That flicker? That's the storm she's hiding. That's silent suffering in real time. It's the contradiction between how she acts and what her eyes reveal that tells you everything you need to know. She may pull away, but she's not trying to disappear. She's holding herself together because you matter more than she ever expected. And the more she feels, the more she fears. Understand this. When a woman feels deeply but chooses silence, it's not weakness, it's composure. It's a kind of inner nobility forged in restraint. In an age where everything is loud, where oversharing is confused with authenticity, her quiet self-control is rare. She's not playing games, she's protecting her dignity. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's her strength, and now it's your turn to show yours. But be careful. This isn't an invitation to push or pry. It's a call to be still, to lead with presence, to become the kind of man who creates emotional safety without needing to be told what's wrong. She doesn't need fixing. She needs to know you see her, truly see her, without her needing to spell it out. And that's where the modern man too often fails. He mistakes silence for indifference, distance for disinterest. But you're older, wiser. You've walked through life long enough to understand that some of the most powerful emotions wear the quietest masks. This is your moment not to act like an impatient boy demanding answers, but to rise as a grounded man who respects complexity. Respect her space, not because you're afraid, but because you understand. Give her the freedom to come closer in her own time, because that's when the connection becomes real, unforced, and lasting. Let's be real. Any man can chase. It takes zero skill to pursue a woman who's already open. But to recognize when a woman is suffering silently for you, when she's doing everything she can not to reveal how much you mean to her, that requires wisdom, emotional awareness, and strength that doesn't seek to dominate, but to hold space. When you notice her subtle withdrawals, the shoulder she doesn't offer, the hug she avoids, the accidental brush she pulls away from, it means you've touched something deeper in her. She doesn't act this way with others because others don't threaten her emotional control. But you crack her armor. That's not rejection. That's a sign that she feels more than she can express. This is real life, not a romance novel. People carry wounds. Women, especially those who felt deeply before, may not easily show what they feel again. They learn to protect their hearts behind walls of poise and deflection. And sometimes, the only man they fear is the one who might actually matter, the one who might actually see them, scars and all. That's you. So now the ball's in your court. Will you play the fool and misinterpret her restraint as rejection? Or will you recognize it for what it is, a storm waiting behind the dam? So here's your call to action, and it's not just for show. If you've ever seen this sign, this deliberate withdrawal, this careful dance around even the smallest touch, comment below. I've seen this signal. Own that moment, share your experience, and if you've ever felt that invisible wall, that quiet resistance that somehow spoke louder than words, hit that like button. Because if you're reading this, odds are you've known what it feels like to stand in front of a woman who's not just holding back affection, she's holding back everything. And you deserve to understand what that means. Subscribe right now, not just to keep getting insight like this, but because every man deserves to rise above the guesswork, to stop fumbling through moments of emotional depth and start mastering them. This isn't about manipulating women. This is about understanding them, and in doing so, becoming the kind of man who women trust with their vulnerability, not because you demanded it, but because your presence made them feel safe enough to offer it. The man who sees unspoken truths is rare, and when you become that man, you'll find that you don't need to chase love, because love, real love, begins to unfold in your presence. So remember, when a woman avoids touching you but touches others freely, it means one thing. You're not just another man to her, you're the man. And if you're sharp enough, grounded enough, wise enough to see that, then you already know what to do next. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end, my friend. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about understanding what often goes unsaid, and that already sets you apart. Now that you've learned these 9 subtle signs, a woman might be silently suffering for you. Don't just move on like nothing happened. This isn't just trivia, this is real life. These are emotional signals many people overlook, and that ignorance can cost relationships, trust, and emotional connection. Every glance, every pause, every time she holds back, that could be her way of holding in pain she doesn't feel safe enough to speak out loud. It might not look dramatic, but it's real. And when you tune into those signs, you're not just becoming more emotionally intelligent, you're becoming someone who can truly be there for others. So here's my honest advice. Pay attention. Don't wait for someone to break down before you show up. If you sense someone is carrying more than they're saying, don't pressure them, but don't ignore it either. Small, thoughtful actions can mean everything. A kind word, a little patience, or simply being present can offer more comfort than you think. If this video helped you see things differently, give it a like and hit that subscribe button. I've got more content coming that dives into human behavior, emotional insight, and timeless wisdom that helps us live with more awareness and compassion. Drop a comment below. Have you ever noticed any of these signs in someone close to you? Or maybe you felt them yourself? Let's talk about it. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Until then, stay sharp, stay kind, and remember, sometimes the deepest feelings are the quietest ones. Take care. How to attract any woman, even if she isn't interested. Old Stoic wisdom. The best way to attract a woman isn't by chasing her, it's by becoming the man she can't help but notice. Most women don't fully realize what they want until it's right in front of them. That's the key insight behind this message. Today, we're uncovering how to attract any woman, even the one who claims she's not interested. Because truth be told, her apparent disinterest often masks something else. Sometimes, it's simply a test. Welcome back to the channel where men learn to move through life with confidence, clarity, and purpose, especially when it comes to connecting with women. If you've ever felt overlooked or written off as not her type, this is the blueprint to shift the whole game in your favor. For too long, we've been sold the myth that attraction is immediate, and if she's not into you right away, the window closes forever. But here's a powerful truth. Women respond far more to how you carry yourself than to how you look, what you own, or what you say. Confidence, unpredictability, and emotional mastery aren't just qualities. They're magnetic triggers. Triggers that disrupt her preconceptions, and make her reconsider the story she's been telling herself about you. The average man accepts rejection as a final verdict. The man who commands respect knows how to approach, how to read the signs, and how to change her perception without begging for her attention. If she's distant, that's just part of the process. If she insists she's not interested, that's actually an opportunity. You're about to discover how to show up in a way she's never experienced before. Best of all, this requires no cheesy lines or pretending to be someone you're not. So before you write her off as out of your league or assume her disinterest is permanent, understand this: you simply haven't approached her the right way yet. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to do it. Let's dive in. 1. Ignore her beauty. Study her behavior. The first and most crucial step to truly attracting any woman, even those who initially seem uninterested, is to stop worshipping her beauty and instead study her behavior with intention and discernment. Far too many men fall into the trap of giving a woman undue power simply because she's visually appealing. But as the ancient Stoics teach us, external appearances are fleeting and unreliable. What truly matters is character. When you shift your focus away from her looks and start observing how she treats others, whether she listens attentively, shows kindness to people without expecting anything in return, and maintains respect in her interactions, you gain control over the dynamic and differentiate yourself from the masses who chase mere physical beauty. This approach is not just about better judgment, it's about cultivating self-respect and emotional intelligence. Women are often accustomed to receiving instant validation based on their appearance, so when you withhold that automatic admiration and instead engage on a deeper level, it disrupts their expectations and creates genuine curiosity. As the legendary philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By not reacting to superficial allure, you become the one who sets the tone, an intriguing figure who commands respect through calm observation and thoughtful evaluation rather than frantic pursuit. Consider a real-life scenario. You enter a lively lounge and notice a stunning woman at the bar. Instead of rushing to compliment her physical features, you take a moment to observe how she behaves. Perhaps she's dismissive to the waiter, rude in conversation, or overly self-centered. These behaviors are your true indicators of her character and whether she's worth your time. The majority of men might overlook these red flags in the hope of winning her favor, but the wise man walks away, embodying true strength and power. This act of discernment is not rejection. It's prioritizing your worth and time for relationships grounded in mutual respect and genuine connection. Paraphrasing Marcus Aurelius, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. By refusing to elevate looks over character, you protect yourself from unnecessary emotional turmoil and position yourself as a man of value. In life, this wisdom translates beyond romantic encounters. Whether in friendships, business, or family, focusing on who people are beneath the surface leads to healthier relationships and better outcomes. If you want to attract someone who truly adds value to your life, it's essential to observe, listen, and discern, rather than be blinded by appearances. The power lies in your ability to read energy and character, not the size of a smile or the curve of a cheekbone. When you master this, women who are genuinely worthy of your attention will start to notice you because you are no longer chasing. They are drawn to your confidence and authenticity. So, next time you meet someone captivating, pause, watch, and ask yourself what her behavior says about her, not just what her beauty suggests. This subtle yet profound shift will set you apart from the crowd and make your presence magnetic. If this perspective resonates with you, I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. How have you learned to see beyond appearances in your relationships, and what impact has it had? Your insights could inspire others on this journey toward wisdom and genuine connection. Remember, the greatest attraction comes not from chasing illusions, but from embodying strength through understanding. 2. Act like you're the prize, not her. If you truly want to transform how women respond to you, the first step is to completely flip your mindset. Act like you are the prize, not her. Far too many men enter interactions convinced they have to win her over, as if she's some unattainable treasure they must beg for attention from. This mindset is deeply ingrained in us from childhood, through movies, music, and society's narratives that glorify women while positioning men as perpetual chasers. But this outdated belief only makes you come across as needy and lacking self-respect, qualities that women instinctively sense and often reject, even the ones genuinely interested in meaningful connections. When you shift your perspective to see yourself as the valuable catch, your entire presence changes. You stop overthinking your words or trying desperately to impress. You no longer seek constant validation or reassurance. Instead, you show up grounded, confident, and centered on what you bring to the table. This self-assured energy is inherently magnetic, drawing women towards you naturally, not because of arrogance, but because it communicates high standards and genuine self-worth. In today's world, where superficial beauty often takes precedence, men who carry themselves with quiet confidence and who understand their own value stand out instantly. You're no longer the guy chasing her approval. Rather, you're the one deciding if she fits into your life. Consider how different it feels to walk into a conversation thinking, "Let's see if I like her," versus, "I hope she likes me." That simple switch grants you power, not by playing games or manipulating, but by recognizing your own worth and options. True confidence isn't loud or performative. It doesn't involve pretending to be alpha or boasting. It's calm, steady, and doesn't need to prove anything because it's secure in itself. The reality is, women are bombarded daily by men who believe they're lucky just to get any attention. So when you come in with the mindset that you're the prize, it stands out clearly. Even if she doesn't say it outright, she feels the difference, and the dynamic shifts so that she begins to seek your approval instead. This isn't about ego or inflated pride. It's about restoring balance and refusing to place her on a pedestal she hasn't earned. Once you start treating yourself like the prize, you no longer play the desperate pursuer. You command respect effortlessly, and that changes the entire game. In modern life, this means embracing your individuality, your values, and your goals unapologetically, which not only attracts women, but also elevates every aspect of your relationships and personal growth. If you want real attraction, stop chasing and start owning your worth. Remember, you are the prize. When you act like it, women notice, and the game changes. Confidence isn't about loud words or showing off. It's about quiet self-respect that can't be ignored. So right now, drop this in the comments. I am the man who knows his value. 3. Approach without needing her to like you. Approach a woman without the desperate need for her approval. This is the game changer every man must master. Too many men stumble into interactions carrying hidden agendas, seeking a phone number, her interest, or even just fleeting attention. But here's the unshakable truth. The moment you need her to like you, you surrender your power. Every second you chase validation, you reveal insecurity, and women, sharp as hawks, sense this vulnerability immediately. They don't just hear your words, they feel your energy, your desperation. The ancient Stoics taught that true power lies within, not in the approval of others. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you approach without attachment to outcome, you reclaim control over your emotions and your presence. You're no longer a man begging for her attention. You are a man who commands respect by being fully himself. This isn't arrogance. This is grounded confidence born from deep self-worth. You don't need her to complete you because you are already whole. Imagine walking into every room knowing your value is unshakable, that your happiness and self-esteem don't hinge on her response. This mindset transforms your aura, turning it magnetic. You stop overthinking, stop rehearsing lines, stop bending yourself to fit a mold. You become authentic, present, powerful. When a man holds this energy, he's not chasing, he's attracting. And that's the essence of real leadership. Showing up as you, unfiltered, unafraid, unshaken. If she doesn't reciprocate, it's not rejection, it's a lesson. You've discovered she isn't the right fit for your life, and you move on without losing momentum or dignity. This is strength. This is freedom. Most men fall into the trap of needing approval and leave encounters defeated, smaller, less themselves. But you refuse that trap. You approach like a man who knows he has options, a man who embodies value beyond one fleeting interaction. Such energy is rare and irresistible. It's the energy of winners, of men who lead their own lives unapologetically. Don't waste time proving yourself. Instead, give her the opportunity to see you. Whether she recognizes your worth or not, your confidence remains untouchable, because the only approval that matters is yours. The Roman philosopher Seneca reminds us, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Don't be poor in spirit, desperate for approval. Be wealthy in self-respect and command your destiny. If you're ready to take control, to stop chasing and start commanding, then like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me below. I am the master of my own power. This isn't just advice. It's a call to action. Own it. Dominate it. Live it. Your future self will thank you. 4. Flirt boldly, then pull back. Flirting boldly, then pulling back is a timeless dance of attraction that taps into an ancient, almost stoic wisdom about human desire and connection. It's not about overwhelming a woman with compliments or relentless attention, but about creating an electric tension that keeps her intrigued and wanting more. True attraction, as the old wisdom suggests, thrives not in excess but in measured restraint. As the famous playwright Oscar Wilde once said, "To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance," reminding us that self-confidence and control are the foundation of all allure. When you flirt with confidence, you convey clear interest without surrendering your power. Many men fall into the trap of trying to win a woman's heart by flooding her with attention, mistakenly believing that more is better. In reality, this often signals neediness and insecurity, which can diminish attraction because it places the woman in the driver's seat, making her feel overly comfortable and in control. Instead, the key is to approach flirting as a game of subtle tension, playfully teasing her, dropping hints that you're interested, but never revealing all your cards at once. By pulling back just as she starts to feel secure in your attention, you create a sense of uncertainty, a psychological curiosity that compels her to seek your presence and approval actively. This dynamic is much like the push and pull of the ocean's tides, a natural rhythm that builds anticipation and emotional engagement. The effect is an emotional roller coaster, where the warmth of your bold flirtation is balanced by moments of cool detachment, keeping her mind focused on you in an exciting and unpredictable way. It's important, though, not to abuse this technique or reduce it to mere manipulation. This is about cultivating genuine intrigue and maintaining your dignity, not playing petty games. As the ancient Stoics taught, virtue lies in balance and self-mastery. By demonstrating you are neither desperate for validation nor emotionally distant, you inspire respect and desire simultaneously. When you master this art, you show that your attention is earned, not freely given, sparking a natural attraction that pulls her in rather than pushing her away. So, take this advice to heart. Flirt boldly, with fearless confidence, but remember that less is more. Pull away just before she thinks she's got you figured out. In real life, this might mean engaging fully in conversation and laughter one moment, then gracefully redirecting your focus to other interests the next, showing you have a rich and fulfilling life beyond her. This balance cultivates an aura of mystery that is irresistibly magnetic. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you experienced the power of this push-pull dynamic in your own life? Share your stories or questions in the comments below, and join the conversation about how ancient wisdom can transform modern attraction. If you've absorbed this ancient secret, you're already stepping into a new level of confidence that most men never reach. Because true attraction isn't about chasing, it's about commanding respect through boldness and restraint. Comment below with this sentence to claim your power. I am mastering the art of bold confidence and magnetic mystery. 5. Challenge her instead of complimenting her. One of the most common mistakes men make when trying to attract a woman is relying heavily on compliments, assuming that flattering her appearance, smile, or style will naturally make her interested. While compliments might seem like a straightforward, safe way to express admiration, excessive praise often backfires because it can come across as needy or emotionally dependent, a signal that you seek constant validation from her. This is a significant turnoff, especially in today's society, where emotional strength, independence, and self-sufficiency are highly valued qualities in a partner. Women are no longer impressed by empty flattery or superficial charm. Instead, they are drawn to men who demonstrate genuine confidence, inner stability, and a strong sense of self. The wiser, more effective approach is to challenge her, not through confrontation or antagonism, but by engaging her mind and sparking her curiosity. This idea reflects a timeless truth found in Old Stoic wisdom. True attraction isn't simply about making someone feel good in the moment, but about encouraging growth, stimulating thought, and maintaining a degree of mystery that invites exploration. When you challenge a woman in this way, you're showing that you have firm beliefs and opinions, that you're not a mirror reflecting whatever she says just to gain her approval. Instead, you present yourself as a man who stands his ground, someone with depth and complexity, qualities that automatically set you apart from the average guy who seeks validation through compliments alone. This dynamic is not about winning arguments or creating conflict, but about creating an exciting mental interplay. She's intrigued because she senses there's more beneath your surface, a puzzle she wants to unravel. This shifts your connection beyond surface-level interaction into a deeper mental and emotional space, signaling that you are confident, emotionally stable, and secure in your identity. These qualities are magnetic because they communicate strength without arrogance, openness without weakness. They embody the Stoic ideal of being unshaken in your convictions while remaining open to dialogue and growth. It's important to clarify that challenging a woman doesn't mean being rude or picking fights just to create drama. The challenge should be light-hearted, playful, and authentic, designed to provoke thought rather than to antagonize. For example, if she's sharing her passion about a TV show, instead of nodding along and offering empty agreement, ask her what makes the show stand out or what her favorite moment is. This invites her to open up more, allows you to engage critically with what she says, and shows you are interested in understanding her perspective rather than just superficially agreeing. This approach makes the conversation more dynamic and lively, transforming you from a passive audience into an active participant in the exchange of ideas. By integrating questions, alternate viewpoints, or gentle challenges into your dialogue, you become a stimulating presence she wants to spend time with, not just for validation, but because your mind engages hers in a compelling way. In today's world, where much of our communication is brief, digital, and often superficial, this kind of intellectual and emotional depth can make a man stand out effortlessly. It reminds us that attraction thrives on complexity, on mutual respect, and on an authentic exchange of ideas, not on shallow flattery or instant gratification. When you thoughtfully challenge a woman, you create a space where both of you can explore your thoughts and emotions more deeply, forging a richer, more genuine connection. This aligns perfectly with the Stoic principles of self-reliance, courage, and clarity of purpose. The Stoics teach us to be grounded in our values and beliefs without being rigid or closed off. They encourage us to embrace challenge as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to be avoided. These are qualities that many women find deeply attractive today because they reflect a man who is mature, reliable, and worthy of their time and attention. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the challenges you face, in relationships or in life, are not obstacles to be feared, but opportunities to develop strength and character. By embracing challenge rather than seeking easy approval through compliments, You embody this Stoic wisdom and transform difficulties into pathways for deeper connection. You show that you are not afraid to stand firm and be yourself, which is an incredibly attractive quality. In real life, this means shifting your mindset from trying to please her to engaging her. Instead of saying, "You look beautiful," a phrase that can feel expected and lose meaning when overused, try something like, "You mentioned that show you like. What is it about it that resonates with you?" Or, "I'm curious, what do you think about this idea?" These questions challenge her to think and express herself more fully, which in turn makes the interaction more meaningful and memorable. This practice also helps you develop greater emotional intelligence and communication skills, which improve not only romantic relationships, but all human connections. Ultimately, the key takeaway is that attraction is not about relentless validation, but about connection grounded in respect, curiosity, and emotional strength. Women appreciate men who are self-assured and who bring something unique to the table, someone who doesn't shy away from expressing his opinions or engaging in meaningful conversations. This is where true chemistry begins, in the meeting of minds and hearts, not in a barrage of compliments. So, challenge her thoughtfully, with kindness and confidence, and watch how your interactions deepen and become more rewarding. I invite you to share your own experiences or thoughts on how intellectual engagement has affected your relationships in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about what it really means to attract and connect with someone on a deeper level. 6. Make her earn your interest. To truly master the art of attraction, especially in a world saturated with instant gratification and oversharing, you must embrace a fundamental truth. Make her earn your interest. This principle is not a cheap trick or a manipulative game. It is a declaration of your inherent worth, a demonstration of your inner strength, and a clear establishment of your boundaries. Far too many men fall into the trap of immediately offering all their attention, compliments, and validation without hesitation or restraint, almost as if they are desperate for approval. This tendency to give away your interest like an open book, pouring out compliments and attention like water from the first moment, is one of the fastest ways to extinguish intrigue and dull desire. When you reveal everything about yourself too soon, you rob the connection of its mystery, the element that compels curiosity and keeps desire alive. In fact, predictability is the enemy of attraction. The ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And this freedom is not just a philosophical concept, but a practical one. Freedom from neediness, from desperation, from the ceaseless hunger for external validation. When you hold your ground, when you refuse to hand over your interest cheaply, you elevate your status and compel her to rise to your level. This dynamic shift creates a question in her mind. What is it about him that makes him stand apart? Why isn't he chasing like every other man? That question sparks intrigue, creating a subtle but powerful tension, a magnetic pull rooted in respect and mystery. This is not about coldness or aloofness, it's about control. Control over your emotions, control over your life, control over your presence. You live with purpose, relentlessly pursuing your goals, and you only allow her into your world on your terms. As a reward for respecting the boundaries you've set, you become the man who is busy building his empire, not the man begging for approval or attention. This is the essence of power and seduction in the modern world. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, are wired to respect strength, not submission. They are drawn to men who do not revolve around them, but instead live full, purposeful lives, inviting women in as a privilege rather than a necessity. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your true strength lies in self-mastery, refusing to be swayed by every emotional impulse, refusing to lower your value by handing out your attention carelessly. When you insist that she earn your interest, you completely shift the power dynamic. Suddenly, your attention becomes a currency that she values deeply. She stops feeling entitled to it and begins to compete for your respect, because your approval symbolizes something rare, something precious that cannot be taken lightly. This transformation is the foundation upon which attraction grows into connection, respect, and lasting desire. You must never settle to be the man who is available to anyone who asks. Instead, be the man who commands presence, who stands tall with confidence, who demands that others rise to meet him. The more effort she puts into earning your interest, the more she appreciates what you offer, and the stronger your position becomes. This principle is not simply advice, it is a blueprint for power and influence in the game of attraction. In a world where so many men make themselves too available and too vulnerable too quickly, your restraint becomes a rare and magnetic quality. Start today by choosing one boundary that you will enforce without exception, a line you won't let be crossed. Whether it's limiting how often you respond to messages, how soon you share personal details, or how much you bend your schedule for someone else, setting this boundary will signal your self-respect and command her respect in return. This is how you shift from being a supplicant to becoming a prize, from being ordinary to becoming irresistible. If you are ready to own your life, command respect, and become truly magnetic, this is the path forward. The power to attract the woman you desire, even if she initially seems uninterested, lies in your ability to hold your own interest like a fortress, inviting her only when she proves worthy. This is timeless wisdom from the Stoics, seamlessly applied to the complexities of modern life, a guide not only to attracting women, but to becoming the kind of man who lives with purpose, strength, and undeniable presence. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. 7. Leave before she gets comfortable. Let's be honest here. A lot of men have no problem being around a woman and giving her all their attention until they've completely worn themselves out. They stick around too long, becoming predictable, and then wonder why the attraction fades. But here's the hard truth. You need to leave before she gets comfortable. Now, I know this might sound counterintuitive. It's easy to think that the more time you spend with her, the more she'll like you. But that's exactly where most men mess up. They think that by always being there, constantly available and never stepping away, they'll make the woman feel safe, secure, and interested. But no, women don't fall for men who cling. What happens when you overstay your welcome is that you start to lose your edge. You lose the mystery. You become just another guy in her life, and the attraction she might have felt in the beginning slowly fades away. This is the part where I need to wake you up. Being too available makes you forgettable. Instead, you want to leave while the interaction is still exciting, still fresh. This doesn't mean you walk away after a couple of minutes, leaving her confused or disrespected. No, it means you gauge the moment and leave while you're still a positive presence in her mind before she starts to take you for granted. You need to create a bit of space between the times you see her, between the times you talk to her. Give her time to miss you. You've probably heard that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And it's true. When you leave her wanting more, she's left wondering when she'll get to see you again. That curiosity will keep her thinking about you. It keeps you in her mind in a way that constant attention won't. The real problem is that many men are afraid of losing the woman, so they stick around too long, over-text, over-call, over-validate. They think that by doing all that, they're increasing their chances. But the reality is they're just pushing her further away. They're losing their own sense of value in the process. If you're the kind of guy who believes that constantly giving her more of your time and attention will somehow make her like you more, it's time to wake up. Respect your own time and energy. It's your most valuable resource. If you're always around, she's never going to learn to appreciate you. She's never going to work for your time. She'll start seeing you as someone who's always going to be there. And that's when attraction begins to fizzle out. Leaving before she gets comfortable forces her to do the work. It shifts the dynamic, reminding her that you're a man with other things going on. You're not available all the time. And that, my friend, is how you keep the fire alive. You're a man of value, not someone who's waiting around for her to validate your existence. Wake up. Start leaving before she gets too comfortable, and watch how the attraction grows. All right, let's wrap this up with something you need to hear. If you've been chasing after her approval, constantly texting, complimenting, or trying to be the perfect guy, you've been doing it all wrong. Here's the truth. Trying to win a woman's approval too hard is one of the fastest ways to lose her interest. Women don't want a man who's desperate for validation. They're attracted to men who have their own lives, who are confident, and who make them earn their attention. Now, let me throw something even more controversial your way. If you approach a woman and she turns you down, it's not the end of the world. Seriously, you haven't lost anything. It's not a reflection of your worth. In fact, it might even be a blessing in disguise, saving you time and energy. The truth is, you're not for everyone, and that's perfectly fine. The right woman will be drawn to your confidence, your independence, and the fact that you're not trying to force anything. So, if you've been stuck in the cycle of seeking her approval, stop. Shift the dynamic, focus on yourself. Don't make her the center of your world. Remember, you're the prize. Women will respect and value you more when they know they have to earn your attention. Drop a comment below and share your experiences. If you've tried these tactics, I'd love to hear how it's gone for you. I'll personally reach out, connect, and help you out in any way I can. 8. Cultivate patience and practice detachment. One of the most profound, yet frequently overlooked principles in the art of attracting any woman, even those who may initially seem uninterested, is the cultivation of patience combined with emotional detachment, a timeless wisdom deeply rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy. The Stoics, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, taught that attachment breeds suffering, and this principle holds true when it comes to attraction. When a man fixates on a woman's reaction or becomes obsessed with a specific timeline for her interest to develop, he inadvertently relinquishes his power and opens the door to frustration, anxiety, and disappointment. This obsession with controlling outcomes leads to tension, which is the opposite of the calm confidence that naturally attracts women. Instead, the true key lies in mastering patience, allowing the connection to develop organically without forcing it or rushing toward a specific result. Emotional detachment here is often misunderstood. It does not mean indifference or coldness, but rather maintaining an inner calm and steady composure, regardless of external circumstances. This emotional balance demonstrates maturity and self-control, qualities that women instinctively recognize and find magnetic. It creates a psychological environment where she feels safe, respected, and genuinely seen, not pressured or chased. Real attraction grows from this space of security and calm, much like a seed that requires the right soil, water, and sunlight to sprout and flourish over time. Just as a gardener never uproots a seedling prematurely because of impatience, a man must resist the urge to accelerate or manipulate the pace of emotional connection. As Epictetus wisely advised, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. This acceptance of reality as it unfolds frees you from unnecessary suffering and demonstrates an unshakable confidence that transcends superficial charm. Practically speaking, this means learning to be comfortable in moments of uncertainty and silence, resisting the temptation to overtext, overcall, or interpret every little action as a sign of approval or rejection. Instead, focus on cultivating your own life, passions, and values, which not only builds your self-worth but naturally makes you more attractive. Women are drawn to men who are whole, grounded, and emotionally resilient, men who do not waver based on external validation but stand firm in their identity. This kind of inner strength acts like a magnetic force, attracting women not through desperation but through authenticity and calm assurance. Think about your own life. How often have impatience and emotional attachment led to frustration or pushed someone away? By practicing detachment and patience, you free yourself from this cycle and open the door to deeper, more meaningful connections. The wisdom of the Stoics reminds us that our peace comes not from controlling others, but from mastering ourselves, and this mastery is the cornerstone of lasting attraction. Unlock the power of true attraction by mastering patience and emotional calm. Stop chasing, start growing. Real magnetic confidence comes from inner strength, not desperation. If this wisdom speaks to you, comment below and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more timeless insights. Comment to remember. Patience and calm attract deeper connections, not control or rush. 9. Develop your passions and live with purpose. Mastering your passions and living with an unshakable sense of purpose is the timeless and undeniable secret to attracting any woman, even those who might initially seem indifferent or uninterested. This is not just about surface-level charm or fleeting charisma. It's about cultivating a life so rich, so compelling, and so full of meaning that it radiates from within and draws others in effortlessly. When a man immerses himself fully in his own journey, fueled by clear goals and relentless passion, he becomes a force of nature, a presence that cannot be ignored. Women are wired to notice this energy, not simply because of physical appearance or social status, but because it signals something primal and deeply attractive: strength, confidence, independence, and above all, authenticity. This concept was understood profoundly by the Stoics long before us. They taught that a man who lives intentionally and with purpose builds a foundation not only for a fulfilled and meaningful life, but also for magnetic attraction. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius resonates deeply here when he said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your mind, your internal dialogue, and your mental discipline form the battleground where success, happiness, and attraction are won or lost." This means that before you can attract the right woman, you must master yourself mentally and emotionally. Invest your energy in becoming the best version of yourself. Build your confidence not by seeking approval from others, but by knowing your own worth and dedicating yourself to your passions. Whether it's conquering your career goals, sculpting your body through fitness, mastering a new skill, or expanding your emotional and intellectual capacity, your genuine commitment to growth emits an undeniable energy that no one can fake or replicate. This kind of energy acts like a magnet, naturally pulling others toward you, because it reflects a man who is self-sufficient and whole. This is the ultimate power, the ability to create value for yourself rather than chasing validation from others. A man who lives this way offers a rich and compelling life experience, not a needy plea for attention or affection. In the modern world, where distractions are constant and many men fall into the trap of complacency or superficial approval seeking, rising above this noise and taking control of your destiny is crucial. The truth is that a woman senses immediately when a man is the master of his own fate, and she is drawn to that mastery, not because he tries to please her, but because he inspires her. Inspiration is magnetic. It's a force that pulls people in and motivates them to be better versions of themselves. Consider this. A man who lives passionately and intentionally creates his own reality, owning every moment and every decision with unwavering resolve. He commands respect effortlessly because his power is authentic and self-generated. This man doesn't wait for permission or seek approval. He moves forward with courage and conviction, and that confidence is palpable. It's this authentic confidence that makes a man irresistible because it sends a clear message. You are grounded, you are committed, and you are unshakable. Importantly, this approach is not about manipulation or superficial techniques designed to trick someone into attraction. Instead, it is about becoming the kind of man who naturally attracts what he desires by embodying power, purpose, and discipline from within. This transformation happens from the inside out and requires courage, resilience, and consistent effort. You have a choice to make. Will you continue living a life dependent on the fleeting and often unreliable approval of others? Or will you step into your full power by developing your passions and living with fierce intention? The world rewards those who lead boldly, who dare to own their path, and who relentlessly chase greatness without hesitation. This is your moment. You are that man capable of forging a life of meaning and magnetic attraction. Act like it now. Embrace your passions and purpose with every fibre of your being. Let this be the call to action that changes everything. If you're ready to own your life and your destiny, Affirm it by liking this message, commenting below with "I lead my destiny," and subscribing for more unstoppable wisdom that will elevate your life. Don't delay or wait for some perfect moment. Become the man who naturally attracts what he desires because he lives with unyielding passion, fierce purpose, and unwavering self-mastery. The power to transform your life and relationships lies within you. Now it's time to unleash it. Thanks so much for sticking with me till the end. If you found value in this video and want to see more content like this, please take a moment to like it, share it with anyone who might benefit, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. Your support really helps me keep creating quality content for you. Also, I'd love to hear from you, whether you have feedback, questions, or just want to share your thoughts about the ideas we discussed today. The comments section is open, so don't hesitate to express yourself. Honest conversations help us all grow and understand these principles better. Remember, these old Stoic teachings aren't just theory, they're practical tools that, when applied with patience and consistency, can genuinely transform how you approach relationships and life in general. Stay curious, stay disciplined, and keep pushing forward. Thanks again for watching, and I can't wait to connect with you in the next video.